And
So,
before we go
so
live, I want to say something.
too late.
Oh, sorry.
Don't ever mess up the TikTok, man. Don't ever mess up the TikTok time to rock.
That's what they do.
I'm shutting this thing down, starting over.
Okay.
Hey, you heard of this Mohammed Hijab guy?
Who?
This dude is pure evil, and they love him for it. You ever notice that, like, the more messed up and the bigger a liar you are and so on, like, the more these guys absolutely love you? It's really,
Yeah.
really weird.
That's what they do, literally.
It's really, really weird. And we're going to show this, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to show Mohammed Hijab flat out, indisputably, 100% grade A lying. Not about me. That will be one thing. Although, matter of fact, we're going to show he does that too. We're going to show he totally lies about me. I say he said something. He calls me a liar, even though 100% he said, are you mad because your camera keeps going in and out?
Yeah.
Why are you getting mad at yourself? There's like 1,500 people watching at all times who have said repeatedly, stick a GoFundMe up, we will cover your stuff, and you refuse to do it. Instead, you choose to be frustrated. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? You have the ability to not be frustrated. Like, AP, I'm assuming that even without camera difficulties and computer difficulties, you'd have enough things to be ticked off about in the world. Right? Because you seem to get pretty ticked off when news breaks of Salwan, Momika, and so on like that. Seems like there's already, and then you got people saying they're going to do it to you and you're next and stuff. Seems like there's enough in the world to be ticked off about.
Oh yeah, all day I'm like the whole Salwan issue, together with me and others speaking out about it, has led to a skyrocketing of death threats and other things in my inboxes, and people saying left and right, ha ha ha, you're next, and so on. And that's of course amazing, but the thing is, all of that is fine, but why in the world will my camera not properly function?
That's my point. It's like if you said, hey, here are all the things that can frustrate me in life. And here's some things I could stop instantly and put an end to instantly in like 5 minutes. And I refuse to do that. I must have this frustration in addition to all this frustration. That's your call, man. That's your call.
That's what happens, man.
So this Mohammed Hijab guy, pretty despicable liar. And it's again, he lies about me. He lies about you. He's never. I don't think we're ever going to see him debate again. Not at least not against anyone who knows the Dawa script. But the couple of debates that he did do, everyone who interacted with him came out of there going, "This guy's a liar." He has to pull some stunt to even have a debate. And if you try to set up a debate where he can't pull a stunt. And if he doesn't have Muslim moderators and stuff like that can help him pull his stunt, he will not do it. He's a total coward. But this is interesting because this isn't simply lying about us. This is lying about Abraham, about Isaac, about Moses, trying to accuse people that Muslims claim to respect, trying to accuse them of being horrible pedophiles. We respect them more. We respect Abraham more than you. Abraham was a Muslim. Really? Tell us about Abraham. He was a pedophile.
Well, to be honest, they do have a point, considering that they also consider them Muslims, so they also have to agree that they are pedophiles. You
know? Apparently, that's the reasoning. But if you wanted to say it, it's the lying part. Matter of fact, there are two things. One is the fact that you have to lie to do this. You have to lie to do this. And then when you're called on the lie, you try to cover it up with another lie. And then when you expose that lie, then they pull another lie, and it's just lie. So there's that. But the other thing is that the fans love it. You can expose it right to their faces, and they love it. They love lying about Abraham. They love lying about Isaac. They love lying about Mary and Joseph. They love lying about Moses. You can show them, dude, do you realize your hero, did you hear, just lied about a guy you believe is a devout Muslim prophet? And they love it. They love accusing these guys of being pedophiles and perverts, child molesters, everything. And I don't know. It's just wild stuff, man. Wild stuff. But it's good that true colors are being exposed. So you Muslims who cheer for Mohammed Hijab, even as he falsely accuses Abraham and Isaac and so on of being pedophiles, you may think, hey, this is fine because we love it. We love this. Everyone else is watching. Everyone else is catching on. And everyone else is looking at things like the grooming gangs and wondering if this has something to do with your religion. And then they look and they see you guys constantly defending sex with children. It's pretty interesting. Anyway.
Sex with children, 'cause I'm a Muslim cowboy.
We'll go ahead and let me pull up a couple sources here to show people the difference. When we say that Muhammad had sex with Aisha when she was a child, what exactly are we doing? Are we just making that up? Are we lying? Are we twisting things? Let's go through a couple sources real quick. Then we'll take a couple super chats. Then we'll go through Mohammed Hijab's tweets where he's arguing to his fans that Abraham and Isaac were actual, had a pedophile ring. Interesting stuff. Let's go. So look at this. I want you all to remember this. This is a chapter heading. Giving one's young children in marriage is permissible. Why do I say that? Because they always say, no, we just have a different idea of what an adult is. Your sources aren't talking about adults here. They're talking about children. Giving one's young children in marriage is permissible. Why? By virtue of the statement of Allah, and for those who have no monthly courses, i.e. they are still immature. These are girls too young to have a monthly menstrual cycle. Why? According to Surah 65, verse 4. It's what the Quran says. And the iddah for the girl before puberty, that's the waiting period for a girl after you've married her, had sex with her, and divorced her before she can be passed on to another guy. This is the waiting period. It's talking about this for girls before puberty. These are not adults. Stop lying, Muslims. Stop lying. These are not adults. It specifically says young children. It specifically says before puberty. And then as the example it gives, narrated Aisha, that the Prophet wrote the marriage contract with her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old, and then she remained with him for 9 years, i.e. till his death. Are we misreading something here? Are we making something up? Are we twisting things? Are we lying?
Yes.
Are we cherry picking? What are we doing here?
We're lying.
Sahih al-Bukhari 5158. Narrated Urwa. The Prophet wrote the marriage contract with Aisha while she was 6 years old and consummated his marriage with her while she was 9 years old, and she remained with him for 9 years, i.e. till his death. Hey, AP, your dumb camera's not on at all.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Why don't you fix that while I'm reading these sources? All right. I'll just read sources until AP comes back. Look at this. Sahih al-Bukhari 6130. Narrated Aisha. I used to play with the dolls in the presence of the Prophet, and my girlfriends also used to play with me. When Allah's messenger used to enter my dwelling place, they used to hide themselves, but the Prophet would call them to join and play with me. He liked little girls playing with dolls in front of him. Notice what's going on in parentheses, because if you know about Islam, you should be wondering, wait a minute, why would they be allowed to play with dolls? Playing with dolls is forbidden. It's an image. Look what you have right here. The playing with dolls and similar images is forbidden, but it was allowed for Aisha at that time as she was a little girl, not yet reached the age of puberty. Aisha hadn't reached puberty. That's why she was allowed to continue playing with dolls. It's specifically saying she was prepubescent. Sahih Muslim 3480, it was narrated that Aisha said, the Prophet married me when I was 6 years old and consummated the marriage with me when I was 9 years old. 3481, it was narrated from Aisha that the Prophet married her when she was 7 years old. Notice you have some dispute between 7 and 6 as far as when the marriage contract was written. That actually makes sense. If you're talking about when someone wrote a contract to marry you, when you were actually married, I can think back to times when, hey, was that when I was 6 or when I was 7? So you do have some disputes about whether she was 6 or 7. And she was taken to him as a bride when she was 9 years old, and she took her dolls with her. He died when she was 18 years old. You guys see this? Her dolls were with her. Her dolls were with her. Is she allowed to play with dolls? No, that's forbidden. Unless what? Unless she's prepubescent. This is over and over again, guys. It was narrated from Aisha that the Messenger of Allah married her when she was 6 years old and consummated the marriage with her when she was 9 years old, and he died when she was 18 years old. It's giving you an entire timeline. Sunan Abu Dawud 2121. Aisha narrated, the Messenger of Allah married me while I was a girl of 7 years. Suleiman, one of the narrators, said, or 6. And he consummated the marriage when I was a girl of 9. Sunan An-Nasai, 3380. It was narrated that Aisha said, the Messenger of Allah married me when I was 6 and consummated the marriage with me when I was 9, and I used to play with dolls. Lots of playing with dolls. Keep in mind, again, playing with dolls is how you describe being prepubescent, right? And the justification for these kinds of things, as the hadith referenced, Surah 65, verse 4, this is talking about how long your wives have to wait before another guy can consummate a marriage with them after you've divorced them. Surah 65, verse 4. Those of your women as have passed the age of monthly courses, so these are women who are too old so they've gone through menopause, for them the iddah, prescribed period, if you have doubt about their periods, is 3 months. And for those who have no courses, i.e. they are still immature, so prepubescent girls, their iddah, prescribed period, is 3 months likewise, except in case of death. So what do you have here? If you marry a prepubescent girl, have sex with her, pass her on to the next guy, you have to wait 3 months before the next guy can have sex with her because of this prescribed waiting period. So the point here, guys, we just went through several sources. There are many, many more. In fact, there are a little over 200 sources reporting the age of Aisha when Muhammad consummated the marriage with her. The point here is when we say Muhammad had sex with a little girl, we have mountains of evidence. We're not misrepresenting anything. We're quoting your most trusted sources. And it's not just one source and there's a bunch of conflicting sources. This is the overwhelming uniform testimony of the hadith. I just want to point that out because we're about to see how Mohammed Hijab tries to defend his claim that Abraham and Isaac were disgusting pedophiles. Again, this is a guy who claims to respect them, All right, as we wait for AP to come back, let's take a couple super chats, and then we will jump into Mohammed Hijab's case for Abraham and Isaac being pedophiles. Devout Muslim here, champion of dawah, and his fans, again, love it. I really believe, I'm completely serious. I believe he could step out tomorrow and say, Abraham worshiped the devil, and make some stupid case for it, and his fans would cheer him on. They just don't care. They do not care about. They only care about Muhammad. At the end of the day, they only care about Muhammad. They don't care about anything else. David Wood is late again. Thanks, AP. Yes. Always. No, sometimes it's me. Today it's AP. AP, I know it hurts and is infuriating, but Ephesians 4:26. See if we get AP back on here. Let's see if AP's camera works for 7 seconds.
Hello.
AP, I know it hurts and is infuriating, but Ephesians 4:26. Don't let the sun go down on your anger.
F426.
Hey, AP, if you want inspiration for AI music, look up Sticky Sweethearts I Glued.
I will. In your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry.
Don't let the sun go down on your anger. Please do a barbecue using the Quran as foil to the barbecue. Only if it's being barbecued to be eaten by a dog. So young, so angry, that Turk blood. Young and angry. That's you. Turk blood. Turk blood is pure. Turk blood is basically just liquid fire.
That's going to be my band name. It's going to be Young and Angry.
Can non-apologist Christians criticize Muhammad? Criticizing Muhammad is for everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Anyone can do it. The people...
Well, technically, it's against the law, so but yeah, you can do it if you want to.
The people were singing AP's theme song in the chat and spreading corruption in the land. Very rude.
Powerful.
Inspiring Philosophy is currently on Timcast. Yeah, that's cool. We'll have to check that out later.
Yeah, I messaged with him earlier, and yes, we should probably review that later when he's done.
Check it out.
Some other day.
Mr. Hijab, what accolades has your father achieved? He's given out more fake degrees for money than anyone else in history.
Hillbilly redneck.
Hillbilly redneck. Hillbilly. He makes fun of people's dads, and his dad is literally a con artist who taught him to be a con artist, only Hijab applied it to Dawa. Minute says, missed you guys.
Wow.
What?
28,000 people watching. I'm happy for Inspiring Philosophy.
That is extremely awesome for Inspiring Philosophy.
Yep.
Minute says, missed you guys. Here's my last jizya, David. 25% tariffs are going to be placed tomorrow in Canada, so I'll be going broke soon. Good, you guys deserve it. I mean, well, I don't know. I suggest you do whatever Trump demands, or the cost of maple syrup is going to go up. D would inspire me to study philosophy after marketing. That's good. Philosophy helps with everything. Have you seen IP's Timcast IRL thumbnail picture? He looks miserable. The disrespect. Appreciate all you guys do. Bar hobo is the way, lol. I didn't see the thumbnail. How's it look, AP?
I see. He just looks kind of.
He always looks angry. He always looks grumpy.
He looks like this.
Yeah. Yeah, he always does. He always looks serious for. It's funny because if you talk to him, he's laughing and stuff like that. But if you say, "Hey, I'm getting a picture," he looks serious.
As far as I remember, what they do actually is they just ask you briefly to look at the camera to get a frame to put on the thumbnail.
Mm.
So maybe he did it on purpose. I don't know.
No, I'm saying if you say, "Hey, I need a picture for the thumbnail," he's going to look mean.
Yeah.
Dear Muslims, when you die, if Christians were right and you find yourself in hell, please cry out, "Jesus, save me." I believe he will because he loves you very much.
Inshallah. Do some Muslims.
Pedo Job told Pedojew that Elon wanted to meet him in 2021 through a proxy on Pedojew's live stream. Who believes? Yeah, I know. Who believes this nonsense? Yes, and the Pope wanted to be with him. They said, "You are the most powerful Muslim who has ever existed. We must destroy you or submit to you." But I said no, and they said, "But we will give you $200 billion if you just stop your powerful dawah." And I said, no money will ever convince me. And all his followers, yeah, oh, he's the greatest. He's the greatest. I don't know what he actually said, but something along those lines. It's pathetic.
Yeah, that's true.
Sings Dawa loves to lie. Dawa loves to lie. I know it. You know it. Dawa loves to lie. It does.
You know who doesn't lie?
Hips.
Yeah.
It's funny because that's about to come up with Mohammed Hijab going, "But what if the little girl has big hips? What about her big hips?" Hips. Me seeing the video of the zombie-like crowd of Palestinians yelling at the Israeli girl. My thoughts: when will the maggots stop breathing? Not.
It was a perfect scene to conduct an airstrike.
No. Hey, they're not perverts. They're reverts.
Oh yeah.
That's interrupting D Wood. That's interrupting D Wood. AP, you should buy AP. You should buy APMO. Better safe than sorry. I don't know what that means. AP, you should buy APMO. You know what that means?
No, I have no idea.
Aisha became legal, then Mohammed died because it wasn't worth it anymore. Yeah, the moment she passed 18, it was like, I have nothing left to live for. And he died. Thinking of starting a new business, Q rolling papers, burn Quran rolling papers, burn the Quran all day, every day. That'd be pretty good.
That's good.
That's a good idea. I like the way you think. Heard you say on Gad that Islam discourages making your own interpretations. Is that from a passage I can quote? Have been arguing with a gay Muslim. Well, you have, I don't know, who are you talking about, me or AP? We've both been on Gad's show, right?
I haven't been on Gad. I had him on my own channel. You have
okay. Okay, yeah. So I was on there. That was a long time ago, like probably 10 or 12 years ago or something like that. But yeah, Surah 4, verse 65 says you have to submit to all of Muhammad's decisions, and that if you find any resistance in yourself to anything Muhammad has said, you're not a real Muslim. So if all you have to do is show your friend anything where Muhammad is speaking clearly, and if you say, well, what he really meant it, you're not a real Muslim if you're doubting what he actually said. And so that's in the Quran, Surah 4, verse 65. Check it out. In the Hadith, over and over again, Muhammad warns against bid'ah, the sin of bid'ah. That's innovation. That's coming up with your own interpretations, your own way of doing things.
Yeah,
and Muhammad says every innovator will go to hell. So you've been warned. Catching up on your live streams, I watched the recap of AP's debate with Central Dawa. Dawa dopes always give sexually frustrated incel energy. Maybe it's because they're not master debaters. Rest in peace, Salwan Momika. Yeah, as far as the frustrated, that's why, again, you can listen to these guys arguing with each other. So it's a bunch of these Dawa guys arguing with each other, and they'll be like, "But you're sending penis pics to these Muslim girls. Well, you're doing it too. Yes, well, yes, I may be doing it, but at least I'm not pretending I don't do it. You act like you're good," and that's how they argue with each other. I'm not joking. You can scroll down through my tweets and find the clip. I literally cannot play it because I would have to bleep out almost every word the way these guys talk. Good.
I'm not entirely sure about the incel vibes with Central Dawa, considering that he strikes me as some guy who pretends to be a Muslim apologist online, but he has he has sex with another girl every night. And it's just in fact using his online platform probably to to just hook up with girls and so on. That's the kind of guy that he strikes me as. And he's not a terrible looking guy or anything. So I wouldn't accuse him of that. His followers are definitely incels, but he himself, I don't know.
For the Quran Fund.
Powerful.
The Quran. Shiva says, Luke 19:27, Jesus calls to kill non-believers. Shiva, are you joking? Because if you're not joking, I'm going to conclude you are the biggest liar. Well, I can't say the biggest liar because we're about to be talking about Mohammed Hijab. Yeah, Shiva. Please tell me you're joking, or that you heard this from some Dawa clown, and you were too lazy to look it up. Because anyone who's actually read this passage and says this and says that this is what Jesus is saying here, I have to conclude you're a liar, or you're completely illiterate. But go back to verse 12. Go back to verse 12. Jesus said, "A nobleman went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom and then return, calling 10 of his servants, this king going to receive a kingdom," and so on. And you get down to the end. And they said to him, "Lord, he has 10 minas. I tell you, to everyone who has, more will be given, but from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. But as for these enemies of mine who do not want me to reign over them, bring them here and slaughter them before me." Who's saying that? It's the king in a story. So you just said this is Jesus telling his followers to kill non-believers. So are you honest? Were you joking? What's going on? AP, your name should be Agnostic Pope. I think he's used that when he changes his name every time he logs in, of some variation of AP. What was your big thought to mess up the TikTok time to rock, AP?
I didn't have a thought. I just wanted to pretend that I have one to mess it up.
Yeah, he just likes, he's an agent of chaos, ladies and gentlemen. The typical argument for this is, it was the norm for the time, so it's okay. Argument for what? With that same logic, same-sex marriage is pretty normal now, so they should be just as accepting of gay marriage, right? Yeah, this is what's amazing. Muslims will act like moral absolutists. They're absolutes and so on. Until you criticize Muhammad, then all of a sudden they become moral relativists. They pretend to be moral relativists and so on. What they don't realize is this doesn't work, because Muhammad is the pattern of conduct in Islam. And therefore, if he does something, then that is officially right thing to do in Islam. And so it becomes the right thing to do. And if your country doesn't allow it, then your country's wrong. Why do y'all think people even listen to Muhammad in the first place? Why did it gain any traction if what he said was clearly a bunch of nonsense? It's actually pretty straightforward. You had Jews and Christians in Arabia. The pagans knew about them. And there were pagans who were thinking, okay, these guys preach monotheism, one God, and so on. And Muhammad comes along and says, hey, I'm a prophet of monotheism, and so on. And he's talking to a bunch of pagans. And so they believed a lot of his stuff and so on. Eventually, he ran into Christians and Jews. They exposed him. That's why he commanded Christians and Jews to be subjugated. But Islam, as far as why it gained traction, he basically combined a gang of thugs and turned it into a religion where it's the will of God.
Powerful.
So the message when Islam actually took off was, join me and we'll go out and fight people. We'll take all their stuff. We'll take their women. We'll take their daughters. We'll make them our sex slaves. And if you die in battle, you're going to spend eternity deflowering virgins. That's why it gained traction. He told people what they want to hear. And Islam's been doing the same thing ever since. All right, a couple more, and then we'll jump into the tweets. Hey, David Wood, you should make a new 25th anniversary since the 9/11 attack and show all the terrorist attacks since then. Oh, yeah, I think I did that after 20. I don't know if I did that after 20 years or what, but I did I scrolled through all the terrorist attacks since then, like thousands of them. It's interesting, if I recall correctly. What resource do you recommend? How can I show my Muslim friend that the New Testament is reliable and accurate, and how and why it beats the Quran? The first thing you should do, Kevin, is understand what the Quran says about the scriptures of the Jews and Christians. Do that first before you start worrying about textual criticism and things like that. Learn what the Quran says. So look up Islamic Dilemma. Learn that material. There's no way around it. There's all these little things they'll say. Like if you just learn a couple of Quran verses and say, hey, the Quran actually affirms our book, there are a couple of things they'll say to deny that. If you actually learn the material, it's irrefutable. Why do you think we spend all day challenging them to debate on this, and they won't come near it? They won't come near the Islamic dilemma. They know it. They know it, and they're scared. So, I'm new to Christianity. Why do I feel like I'm being attacked, harassed a lot more than when I was an atheist? Well, because when you're an atheist, everyone loves you for being an atheist. And when you're a Christian, they have to declare war on you. No, there could be all kinds of reasons. Could be random. Could be spiritual attack. There could be demonic forces after you because of your decision. Don't know.
Demonic forces.
But make sure you have some good church, some good Christian friends, that you're reading the Bible and praying regularly. I liked. Yeah, I know. I liked last night's conversation on movie Kingdom of Heaven. What are best movies that show some truth about Islam? True Lies, Black Sunday, Argo. It's funny, True Lies, that was long before the 9/11 attack. But there were Muslim protests because it was a Muslim terrorist group in the movie, right? It was just a terrorist group called Crimson Jihad, and there were protests saying, "How can you represent all Muslims as terrorists?" Like it didn't. It said there was a Muslim terrorist group. It's funny you can't have a Muslim terrorist group in a movie because they'll say, "Well, you're saying all Muslims are terrorists," and people are scared of that now.
But it would be the most accurate description of terrorists. So I'm not sure what they're complaining about.
It just sucks that back in the day you could make movies. It's like the movie Red Dawn. It was about a communist invasion of the United States and so on. And then they tried to remake it in the 2000s, and they were going to make it China. And then they were like, "No, you can't. You'll upset the Chinese." So they had to make it North Korea because that's the only one they didn't care if they offended. And so it's an invasion from North Korea. North Korea taking on the United States and actually successfully invades. Come on. It's like idiotic, but that's what you have to do because everyone's scared of hurting everyone's feelings. Watching from Auckland, New Zealand, D Wood and AP. Awesome.
Powerful. Greetings to you. And we were just joking when we said that the Haka thing is lame the other day, just so you know.
Yeah, it was super cool and based. I need a jihadist checkmate shirt while preaching the gospel to Muslims so I don't get killed. You're a genius, David. That is the only thing that will protect you.
Just so, but when I say we were joking when we said it was lame, I'm meaning that it's actually super lame. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. Be careful of Shrek.
For movies, by the way, I would suggest the movie Munich, which is the movie about the Mossad operating and taking out the perpetrators of the Olympics massacre, where terrorists, the Palestinian terrorists, came and took the Israeli team hostage and killed them, and the Mossad goes after them and takes out every single one of them. It's a very based movie.
Hey, you know, to be an awesome movie, since you're talking about that, be an awesome movie. There needs to be a movie that's about Hitler meeting with the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, but it turns out in the movie they're like gay lovers, and that's why they keep having these meetings. Wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be like the funniest movie ever? And like they have this like secret Brokeback Mountain type love affair, but then a Jew sees them in action one day and he's like, "I'm gonna tell my fellow Jews," and like, "No, we'll exterminate you all so that no one finds out." And that's like what causes their hatred of Jews, is Jews found out about their gay love affair. Wouldn't that be awesome? How's no one making awesome movies like this, guys? We come up with them all the time. No one ever puts these things into action. We'll have to do a low budget version. Oh, wait, what was that? AP, if you ever find the Daily Rosary too much, highly recommend the Divine Mercy Chaplet. God bless you. Gute Nacht. Thanks for getting me back into German. Just so you
Thank you.
know,
I appreciate it.
Master German. David and AP, I assume you have many threats on your life and your family lives. How do you live without fear? As a Christian, I may know your answer, David, but I want to hear from both of you. You're thinking, no, it's because I'm a Christian. No, I'm kind of born this way. So I wonder why other people are like that. I have a mental defect that basically if there's a situation that would scare lots of people, it's actually funner. It's more fun to me. So that's me. I have a mental problem. I don't know why other people are acting like they're crazy.
It sounds funny when you say it like that. Like, I have a mental problem. I have a mental defect.
It's like, okay. No, guys, I'm trying to be clear. If I were, I always have an urge to mess with people who have the ability or who seem like if I were walking by a gang of bikers right now, I'm not going to do it. I have self-control, but I would have an urge to mouth off to them. Not because I want to get beat up. I don't. But I want to mess with people to find out what they're going to do. Even if that includes like beating the crap out, a bunch of bikers beating the crap out of them. It's like, oh, okay, now I know. There's something in me that wants to tick off people in dangerous situations and see what will happen. And I recognize there's nothing that makes sense about that. That's stupid. So I assume that's part of a mental defect.
I don't know what it's about me. Maybe I just have some problems as well. But I always, when I was younger, when I was a teenager, I always liked kind of saying the controversial thoughts and things, the opinions that I have that kind of make people angry. And I guess there is also kind of something that tickles me, that makes me think when I see something wrong, I just want to say it. And if it's dangerous, it gives me a sense of anxiety and also a sense of kind of danger and reaction to that. But then that drives me even more because I think I can't accept this as a reality out there. If that is a thing, I don't want to back down. I want to go toward it and contribute to finishing it and all that. So, and if it leads me into danger, then that's of course quite sad. But that won't take me down. I'll just continue doing it.
So, what I actually understood from that was you have Turkish blood, so you're part Ottoman, and your ancestors humped a wolf or something like that. But
Yes.
then you grow up in Germany, so you already have, like, genetically, you think that you're supposed to be in charge and controlling the world. Then you go to Germany, and you find out that you're supposed to be controlling the world, and so on. And then there's all these people who won't let you control the world, and so you're enraged and ticked off.
Yeah.
And so,
That's exactly what I said. Yeah. That's exactly what I said. Actually. Yeah.
Yep. A couple more. Zakir Naik destroys your Bible. You're lost. Wake up. Good one. Zakir Naik. It is funny. Zakir Naik can barely get 2,000 views on a video anymore. Those days are gone, Zakir Naik. Also, why am I seeing so much hate from Jewish people against Christians and the preaching of Jesus, especially in Israel? That's weird. Did you get that vibe when I was there, AP?
Is this a serious?
I can't tell. I can't tell if it's a joke or someone trying to start something. AP, we actually talked to a Messianic Jew. That's a Jewish person who believes that Jesus is the Messiah, said he's been preaching in Israel for 20 years. He said most Jews are actually interested, like even if they're not going to agree with him, they're interested in hearing why he believes. He said there was one case in 20 years where things actually got physical, So yeah, that's this insane hostility. Just so you know, I know more Christian street preachers in the United States who've had more physical altercations than that, being attacked.
Yeah, there is no such thing going on. It's you can even you have I don't know what the names are. I've never watched any of their videos properly, but you have I've probably looked at some of them. There are some of these channels that preach daily, every day in Israel on the streets, preach to Jews, and they wouldn't share your opinion here at all. I'm talking to Pinkerton 7 here. They wouldn't share your opinion that Jews are hostile toward them at all. They seem to have very, very good conversations with people and so
on. Praying for AP to come to Christ and his safety. Yes, both good prayers.
Try.
Allah, Muslims do not know what Muhammad and me do in my cave every Friday. They think he speaks to God, but they can't see. But can't they see? This is very rude. Just very rude. Much. I don't like what you're getting at here. Steven says 2 questions. First, do you believe Muhammad saw a demon in the cave, or was he just nuts? Second, do you think Muhammad Hijab believes in Islam genuinely, or is it all a grift?
First question, nobody can know, but from the narratives, he seems to have very, very great signs of mental problems. It would be completely explicable and would make sense if he had severe mental problems and hallucinations, and also saw scary things that tell him, "Read now, how dare you," and so on. When it comes to the second question of Mohammed Hijab believes, if Mohammed Hijab believes Islam genuinely or it's all a grift, of course he doesn't believe it genuinely. He thinks he just uses it as a grift, or maybe there's a part of it that believes that he might.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like maybe
go to heaven or something if he does his job and humiliates people on behalf of Allah, because Allah Himself can't do it. But much of it is just grift, and that's what gets him going. So it's.
Yeah, and keep in mind, it would actually, what Hijab is doing, it might be similar to Muhammad himself, right? Like Muhammad may have believed he's a prophet, but you look and there's all these revelations that are just giving him any perverted thing that pops into his head. And so it may have simultaneously been a grift, and it may have been justified in his head. Like, yes, of course, I'm a prophet, and yes, I'm getting these revelations here, but Allah's not going to be mad at me because I'm so important if I actually give myself some special privileges here and there. So it could be something like that, where I'm in good with Allah because I'm popular in da'wah. Therefore, I get to make things up and lie constantly. With that said, I'm kind of like 50-50 on whether he believes at all. Because if you actually believed in Islam, I would not expect you, seriously, I would not expect you to be like falsely accusing Abraham and Isaac of being pedophiles. I just wouldn't expect that if you were serious.
Well, he basically told me that he wants to do something before he dies so he can go to heaven. He basically just hinted at that, and it doesn't seem very genuine. He's just kind of...
Yeah. AP, you have put on weight over the years, man. Please hit the gym and get more handsome. Thank you for this immense knowledge you both share with us. God bless. I think his beard is just bigger, and it makes his head bigger.
No, I did put on some weight. I have recently. I think I have more weight now than I had.
I think you've fluctuated over the years. Wait, you're heavier than what? You seem to have fluctuated over the years. Like I remember you getting all like shredded and stuff.
Yeah, there was a point where I was getting very fit and was flexing my muscles and all that, and then I stopped going to the gym, and
then AP was going in like little Speedos and stuff and video recording. Oh, look at these girls checking out my butt. Oh, and then posting it on TikTok. dude, I go to the gym like in the middle of the night. Because I stay up at night to take care of my son, and if I have one of my other sons up, I'll be like, "Hey, watch your brother while I go hit the gym and stuff like that." But I went over there, huge gym. There's no one there except 3 girls who look like they just came from the strip club. Like they look. I mean, they're dressed exactly like strippers in a strip club. And so I was thinking like, oh, maybe they did. Maybe they have like a shift at their strip club and they came over here. So anyway, so I go to the opposite side of the gym. All right. So I go to the opposite side of the gym, and I'm over there, and then all 3 of them come, and one goes right beside me, and then the other two are like giggling in front of her, and I'm like, oh, are you kidding me, man? Is this what you're trying to get a TikTok video out of this? When if I glance over and they go, oh my goodness, why is this guy staring at us? What's wrong? You ever seen that? Like, it's cool. They actually start kicking people out of gyms like that if they're clearly there to. They go in there and like wearing a thong and stuff like this, and they're like, "Oh, here I am doing squats in my thong. Oh, that guy back there just glanced at me. Oh my goodness! Look at this rape culture we're in." Weird stuff, man.
There was a gym that I would go in. I guess kind of many gyms have that where they say that you are not supposed to show a certain amount of skin because it's distracting to others. And so on. I don't know. There was this kind of gym that was kind of Christian-y that I went to.
That's interesting.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm mainly like, okay, if you're recording, you need to verify what that's being used for and not just to...
If you see somebody recording, what you need to do is to start dancing and singing a song to it.
That sweet ASMR of Quran pages tearing. No, it's
That's
very
true.
rude. AP, I was the guy on Twitter who said, "You're dehydrated. Did you drink water?" So you know.
I saw that.
Chloe says there's absolutely demonic forces at play when truth is corrupted with conspiracy and lies. Pretentious, idiotic Westerners believe 9/11 American plot, October 7th Holocaust hoax. Muslims always made to be the innocent. Yep, we got some problems, ladies and gentlemen. Fortunately, I mean, I say fortunately, but it's actually unfortunate that people are so stupid and so slow to catch on. But yeah, sadly, the jihadis make sure you understand, even as everyone tries to defend them. Still no opponent for AP at DebateCon? Any update?
There's still no proper opponent. There's no opponent who will accept it. They're all scared. They're all scared of debating me. They're all terrified. I think we might have something set up, but I will inform you further if there's an update on that.
We will all cheer. We will all cheer for someone who kills someone, but we will not argue.
There was actually
Muhammad the prophet. What?
There's one guy called Orthodox Muslim or something like that. He challenged inspiring philosophy to a debate, and I said, "Hey, how about I take over here?" We're looking for an opponent anyway, so we contacted him to see if he's open to debate me on the topics of whether Muhammad is in the Bible and whether Muhammad is a true prophet or not. And he said he's too busy that week, so he can't join the debate.
Awfully convenient. I understand not being scared for your own life, but do you never fear some crazy jihadi will hurt someone in your family or someone you know? Well,
Muslims would never do something like that. That would be very. They would never do that.
Yeah, Islam's a religion of peace and tolerance. Everyone knows they would never hurt anyone. How dare you stream while P is on with Tim Pool? Hey, we planned this before that was official. I only found out today that they were on at 8 o'clock. Just a psychopath and a Turk against the world. I can't think of a more powerful combo. Islam has no hope. That is funny. You got a psychopath and a German Turk, a German-raised Turk. That's quite the combo.
Is redundant.
So Be It is one of the messianic channels in Israel.
Oh yeah. There's another one with one something.
One for Israel, right?
Is that messianic?
Wait, no. I forget because there are a couple names like that, but there is. Yeah, because we watched a couple videos about like Muslims becoming Christians because they also share those videos too. But a couple of videos are from a Messianic Jewish channel.
There are some just Christian Zionist networks that are big like that. Some are Messianic. I can't really tell.
D-Wood, you made a really interesting point in your live on Elon. I've been comparing autism to psychopathy for a while. Have you ever studied cognitive empathy versus effective empathy? Antisocial personality disorder people don't care, whereas autistic people do. No, never studied that. So
there is an element of where you can compare those two because with autism you have a lack of understanding social cues and lack of understanding people's perspectives and putting yourself in their position. So you do certain things with because you are unable to understand or to see how others observing you would perceive what you are just doing right now, because you don't really have what they have. And in psychopathy, I guess, and or antisocial personality disorder, there is an aspect that is kind of comparable to that, which is that you would that you lack the empathy that the average person has, so you can't really understand, you can't really feel what other people feel in response to certain things that you do or say. So there is kind of a connection, a similarity there. David and I both took a bunch of psychology classes for some weird reason. So yeah,
because it's fun and it helps us learn how to control people and develop cult-like behavior. AP, don't look up sticky sweethearts I glued. Okay,
no.
Okay. IP is on Timcast. I am here. You see, that's right. We know who's better.
IP too. So why would we have to change our things just because EPs?
Sending love to you, Pear and AP. Any weight you put on, tell them it's all paid for.
Thank you.
Also, not sure if you guys ever saw the clip of JP telling Pierce 40 or 50 Muslim countries are authoritarian hellholes, 3 are democracies, but still suck. Yeah, that's classic. Boom Boom Room. I actually have Boom Boom Rooms recorded that I still haven't edited. Don't the girls know that if they play with their dolls and take midday naps with their blankie, that it will tempt all the Muslim men? These little girls are sick in the mind. I've actually had Muslims argue that. I had like I said, hey, I was talking to one Muslim was like, hey, why did he have sex with a 9-year-old and marry her when she was 6? And the guy said, but she was probably flirting with him and tempting him. I'm like, are you serious? It's like a 6-year-old can flirt with him and then he'd be, oh no, I have to do something with her. David, please offer a J checkmate neck gator. Oh yeah, we want the entire ensemble. When's the next episode of the Boom Boom Room? Whenever I edit it. Just here to say, I love it when you eat the Quran. Everyone does. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into this. Everyone ready?
I love it when you eat the Quran.
Can you tell me how to eat the Quran with hikmah and all right, guys, let's go ahead and check out what got this all started. So someone brought up. This was just, I think this was Hijab posting. That he had graduated from Al-Azhar. I don't know if that's authentic or if that's just one of his dad's trick degrees or something like that. Don't know. But then someone said something about Mohammed and Aisha, and then Mohammed Hijab, or someone else said something about Rebecca being 3 or whatever. Matter of fact, why don't I just scroll up and see what happens? Not a single verse mentioned there. Aisha, according to us, was 3 times older than Rebecca, according to Genesis. There you go. Look at that. So someone asked how old Aisha was. He said, Aisha, according to us, was 3 times older than Rebecca, according to Genesis. Got that? So he's saying that in Genesis, so Aisha was 9. Mohammed Hijab acknowledges that. And therefore, Rebecca would be 3, according to Mohammed Hijab. Matter of fact, according to Genesis, according to what he's saying. And then Luciano says, correctly, not a single verse in Genesis mentions her age. And then we have age, and then we have the math. Gotta love Dawa math here, ladies and gentlemen. Except, guys, they all cut and paste this same thing. This is not Hijab coming up with this. They all cut and paste the same little thing. You can find it all over the place. But you can always, once you know what they did, once you know where the lie occurs, then it's easy to expose. And it's just it's really amazing because, again, the math here does not work without the lie. And the lie is always about Genesis 22. They say it says something that it does not say. Right? So let's check this out. Mohammed Hijab says, Sarah gave birth to Isaac at 90. Genesis 17. And this is, you have to watch Dawa guys when they give sources, because they give sources just to pretend, right? They give sources hoping that you will never look up the sources. And matter of fact, knowing that their followers will never in 100 million years look up sources, right? It's the 99-1 rule. Sarah gave birth to Isaac at 90, Genesis 17. She died at 127, Genesis 23, 1-3, meaning Isaac was 37 when she passed. So they're trying to establish a timeline here. So Isaac was 37 when Sarah died. The Mount Moriah incident, Genesis 22, and the birth of Rebecca occurred simultaneously, aligning with Sarah's death. That's the lie. There's nothing at all in Genesis 22 that says the birth of Rebecca, the Mount Moriah incident, and Sarah's death all occurred simultaneously. We'll look at the passage. We'll look at the passage later. All it says is Abraham heard about all the people who've been born since he's left. One of those people was Rebecca. It lists a bunch of other people. In other words, Abraham had left home way earlier, and he finally got news from home, and he hears about all his relatives that had been born. And they say, oh, right there when he heard it, that's when all of these people must have been born right at that second. That is insane. That is absurd. It's not what the text says at all. And without that lie, you can't get Rebecca was 3. And therefore, Rebecca was born when Isaac was 37. Isaac married Rebecca at 40, Genesis 25:20, making her no older than 3, perhaps slightly older, like 3 years and 1 month, depending on how you interpret Nahor's family timeline, Genesis 22, 20-24. Genesis presents the details. The math reveals the implications. You guys get that? Genesis presents the details. The math reveals the implications. Only problem is Genesis does not say this. It's a lie, and his math is based upon a lie. but he knows his followers are too stupid. He knows that when we expose the lie, his followers will just believe him because they're programmed to. And I have to say, this is a sad reality. It's not just psychological. It's not just the psychological allegiance to your Dawa guy. The Dawa fans, especially the fans of Mohammed Hijab, they seem so stupid that they don't understand what you're saying. Like if you say, here's what Genesis 22 actually said, they will not understand anything you're saying. They're too dumb. Like 100 generations of first cousin marriage has destroyed their ability to actually understand anything you're saying. And so all they have is their allegiance to Dawa. Anyway, so that's what Hijab posted. You got a basic little thing from Brother Rashid here. Brother Rashid says, do you really believe that a 3-year-old girl could draw water from a well, pour it into a jar, and carry it on her shoulders? And by the way, it's not just like one jar of water. She watered 10 camels. A 3-year-old. And a jar back then would have been like a big clay jar. You lower it down into this well, fill it with water, and then you haul this thing up. And she kept doing that for 10 camels. 3-year-old, very impressive 3-year-old. Are you so desperate to justify your prophet's actions that you would distort events and misrepresent the truth? Well, there's no question that he would distort events and misrepresent the truth. What's crazy, again, is that he'll do this about Abraham and Isaac. So the story, guys, is that Abraham sent his servant to get this bride for Isaac. Hijab argues that it was a 3-year-old. So what's that mean? That Abraham sends his servant out to get a 3-year-old to have sex with his son. So what's that mean? It means these guys they're all pedophiles, right? They're all pedophiles. They all think having sex with prepubescent little 3-year-olds is good. That's what Hijab is accusing them of. Anyway, let's go ahead and see what Brother Rashid says here. See, I'm just standing beside this spring and so on. Anyway, get down to the part about Rebecca. Before he had finished praying, Rebecca came out with her jar on her shoulder. She was the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, who was the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. The woman was very beautiful. Woman? Wait a minute. I thought 3-year-old girl. The woman was very beautiful, a virgin. No man had ever slept with her. She went down to the spring, filled her.
It's 3-year-old woman. So.
Yeah, 3-year-old woman. Yes, we believe we just have different views of what women are. The woman was very beautiful, a virgin. No man had ever slept with her. She went down to the spring, filled her jar, and came up again. So went to the spring, filled her jar, came up again. Servant hurried to meet her. Please give me a little water from your jar. Drink, my lord, she said, and quickly lowered the jar to her hands and gave him a drink. After she had given him a drink, she said, I'll draw water for your camels too. And then she drew all the water for the camels. And so you have someone giving, this is Mohammed Hijab's idea of Rebecca. You're missing this, AP.
Oh, yeah.
Here's Rebecca, according to Mohammed Hijab. Little 3-year-old. Absolutely shredded. Absolutely shredded. And she would have to be, right? She's hauling water. She's hauling water for 10 camels. And so, guys,
the She-Hulk.
In reality, Genesis never gives an age for Rebecca. The only indication it gives is she's called a woman or a maiden or young woman. It said that she's a virgin and that she's in charge of the chores of getting water and stuff in the water jar, and she does things like water the camels and so on. That's it. That's what you have to go on as far as the Bible is concerned. So when we ask, is this correct? Is this correct that you could do the math here and get an age of 3 for Rebecca? The answer is no. And I went ahead and pointed that out. So let's go ahead and get back here.
You know what's funny?
What?
So here's the thing. We're talking about all of the details.
Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing now? What are you doing there? We're going to end this live stream. We're going to take that down and we end this live stream.
No.
How you like that? How you like that? Huh? Yeah, I promise. I swear by law. You're finished. What?
You see?
Welcome to
what I find funny is that when we talk about So we're sitting here and actually engaging with these imbecilic arguments of, oh, what in the Bible it's actually Rebecca also as a young little girl, because if you look at this verse and then you look at this verse and then you calculate this and you add this and do that and then it turns out that she's a little girl. You compare that. So on the one hand, we have one that completely relies on inferring different things, guessing and all of that, making some odd calculations and so on. And then on the other hand, you have Islam, which directly tells us, and Muhammad married her when she was 6 and raped her when she was 9. So on one hand, you have it very, very clearly laid out. This is what Muhammad did. This is exactly what Muhammad did, and he's the perfect moral conduct. And on the other hand, you have the Bible, where you have to, if you look at this verse and that verse and calculate this and do a handstand and look at that while you are holding something with the other hand and doing a one-hand handstand and so on. It's like, please, man, this is a joke.
Everyone watching, did you understand that point? Because earlier in this live stream, the beginning of this live stream, I went through 10 sources saying that Aisha was 9 when Muhammad had sex with her, saying that she was still playing with dolls because she was prepubescent. The chapter heading in Sahih al-Bukhari for 5133 specifically called her a young child and said that talks about the waiting period for remarrying a prepubescent girl after her previous husband had divorced her and so on. And then showing in Surah 65:4, it's talking about sex with prepubescent girls, which hijab acknowledges. So are we making this up? Are we lying? No, we're telling you exactly what's in the Muslim sources. And how do they respond? Lying. Oh, if you take this and add this and multiply this and take in this and blah, 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 and then you'll magically get an age of 3. And we sit down and say, okay, let's actually go through this. And then they have to lie more. Watch. Ready?
Yes.
Here we go. So here was my first response to this. I said, took me 2 seconds to spot the lie from Muhammad Hijab. Note, dawah is always deception. Hijab says the Mount Moriah incident, Genesis 22, and the birth of Rebekah occurred simultaneously, aligning with Sarah's death. They occurred simultaneously, aligning with Sarah's death. Liar. I say, bull. It's a dawah lie. Text doesn't say that at all. Muslim, and look at the challenge. I called on 2 billion Muslims. Prove me wrong here. Muslims, prove me wrong by quoting the verse that says the birth of Rebekah occurred at the same time as the Mount Moriah incident. When you can't, ask yourself, I'm telling them you should be a little bit self-reflective in all this. You're falsely accusing prophets that you claim to respect of being pedophiles, and you love it. So why don't you reflect back on this sort of thing? When you can't, ask yourself why your dawah heroes gladly lie about God's prophets when they claim to respect them. And without Hijab's lie here, his math doesn't work. Keep in mind, this is a popular Muslim accusing Prophet Abraham of sending his servant to find a 3-year-old girl for his son Isaac to have sex with. They claim to respect prophets, but they lie about them and accuse them of pedophilia, all to distract people from Muhammad, who actually had sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl and who was therefore an actual pedophile. Shielding a pedophile by lying about prophets. Dawah is demonic. Don't tell us to respect your book, your fake prophet, or your religion when your book, your fake prophet, and your religion cause you to act like this. It's all pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward, but we're just getting started because Hijab is going to have to lie in order to defend this. What did he say? It's all in Genesis. It's all right there in Genesis. So what did I say? I challenged him and all Muslims. Show us chapter and verse. Where does it say that? Hijab said it says it. Where does it say it? Is that too much to ask? You're saying, hey, it's in Genesis, and I say, show that to me in Genesis, and you can't? Is that too much to ask, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
You're making a claim. You say, here. I mean, if I just said, hey, the Quran says torture puppies for fun or something like that, and you say where, and then I change the subject, would that be fine?
Yes.
Would that be fine? Because that's what you guys do. So now let's go ahead and look at Hijab's response. You ready? You ready, guys?
Yes.
This is Hijab's response when I said, show me in Genesis where it says this. Here's his response.
Well, let me do a handstand.
Yeah. And he didn't even try. He didn't even try to show from Genesis. Instead, he went to two rabbis. He went to two rabbis. And this is about to get hilarious because it's IP, Inspiring Philosophy, who absolutely demolished Hijab on this one. I mean, absolutely demolished him on this one. So look at what Hijab says here. So what was the challenge? Hey, Hijab, you just said that this is in Genesis. Show us, chapter and verse. Where does it say that? And here's his response. Here are some scholarly sources you can read that indicate Rebecca was 3. Scholarly sources, ladies and gentlemen. He says, two rabbis. So here we go. Rashi's commentary on Genesis 25:20 says, 40 years old. For when Abraham came from Mount Moriah, he was informed that Rebekah had been born. Isaac was 37 years old, for at that time Sarah died, and from that time that Isaac was born until the binding of Isaac when Sarah died were 37 years, for she was 90 years old when Isaac was born, and 127 when she died. As it is stated above 23:1, the life of Sarah was 127 years. This makes Isaac 37 years old, and at that time Rebekah was born. There's the problem. At that time Rebekah was born. Where's that coming from? It's not in the Bible. It doesn't say it. So am I supposed to believe this when it's saying something that's false? Do you get that? This is making a false claim. The Bible does not say that. And Hijab is saying, I have to believe it anyway. Why? Why do I have to believe this? Why? It's saying something false.
Because I want you to believe it.
And guess what? Other rabbis called him out for this. Other rabbis called him out and said, that's not what it says. So anyway, this makes Isaac 37 years old, and at that time Rebekah was born. He waited for her until she would be fit for marital relations 3 years and then married her. From Genesis Rabbah 57. What? Keep in mind, guys, Genesis Rabbah is not the Bible. That's not the Bible. And here we have Isaac was 37 years old at his binding. When Abraham returned from Mount Moriah, at that very moment Sarah died, and Isaac was then 37. And at that very time Abraham was told of Rebekah's birth. Look at that. Look what just happened. At that very time Abraham was told of Rebekah's birth. At that very time Abraham was told of a ton of people's births. He was told about a bunch of people. Do you conclude, therefore, that's when all these people were born? No, yes. That would be absolutely ridiculous. But since this guy says it, Hijab tells us we have to believe it. And he says, thus we find that Rebekah was 3 years old when she married Isaac. Interesting. You want to know interesting? Look at this. 2,200 likes. 2,200 likes on this. That's what happens if you lie, if you're a Dawa guy and you lie to your fans. That's what they do. Let's see. We have my response. I have it pulled up here where I've already clicked on it. So everyone got this so far?
Yes.
We're understanding so far. So what were the claims? The claims were Rebekah was 3 according to Genesis, and he pretended to do the math, but he lied about what it said. And then when I called him on it and said, hey, it doesn't say that, show me where it says that, he said, aha, look at these two rabbis. Rabbis who are contradicted by other rabbis. So he's going to be called for cherry picking, like you have to actually pick a rabbi to get you the number you want so that you can do your math and conclude that Rebekah was 3, so that you can defend your claim as a Muslim that Abraham and Isaac were actually pedophiles. We all good so far?
Yes.
All right. So here's my response to that. Mohammed Hijab is doubling down on his lies about Prophet Abraham and Prophet Isaac so he can accuse them of conspiring to rape a 3-year-old girl. Welcome to Islam. It's actually what he's arguing. And again, the weird part, his fans love it. He's accusing Abraham and Isaac of conspiring to rape a 3-year-old girl, and they love it. He gets thousands of likes from his fans on this. Tell me this isn't demonic, people. Look at what Hijab originally posted. Genesis presents the details. The math reveals the implications. So it's just Genesis and math, right? And he used Genesis as the source until I pointed out that Genesis said no such thing. When I proved that it's not Genesis and not math, he changed his argument and now tells us that we have to trust rabbis who also can't show us that the text says it. Is Hijab drunk? I could give him Muslim commentary. I forgot I pointed this out. Is Hijab drunk? I could give him Muslim commentaries on various issues in Islam, and he would reject those commentaries because he doesn't agree with their reasoning. In other words, I could show him a Muslim scholar. If Hijab looks at that and says, well, this guy's reasoning is bad, he'll say, I'm not going to agree with him. Why? You don't have to agree with a Muslim scholar if you think his reasoning is bad. And that's people from his own religion. Him saying, David, you have to go with what this rabbi said, that's really, really weird. But let's see. But he turns to us, and when he can't prove his point from the Bible, he tells us that we have to agree with rabbis from thousands of years after the events who can't give anything remotely resembling a sound argument. They're not. There's no argument saying that she was born at this same time. It's just they just say it. Why does he tell us we have to agree with these rabbis? Because he needs it so he can accuse Prophet Abraham and Prophet Isaac of conspiring to rape a 3-year-old. This is the true face of Islam. They pretend to love the prophets, but lie about them and falsely accuse them of being pedophiles. Dawah is demonic, and Mohammed Hijab is proving it. Proving it. We got all this so far, AP?
Yes. I'm on the one hand looking at the rabbinic commentary. It's quite funny.
Are you?
Yeah.
Got to find here. Wanted to find IP's response. All right, here we go. You ready for IP's response? Because IP burns his butt up, man, on cherry picking. So think about the cherry picking going on here. One, he says, this is what Genesis says. When he is exposed as a liar, like his God and his prophet and other Dawah guys, we say it's not in Genesis. Then it's, but here are two rabbis. And what's he telling it? We have to go with what these particular rabbis say. Even if we look at what they're saying, we say, there's no way that's right. That's not what the text says. You have to go with them anyway. But wait a minute, the rabbis, on what planet do I have to go with and matter of fact, we've pointed this out before. You can't possibly think you have to agree with all rabbis because they contradict each other. It's like saying you have to agree with every Christian pastor who's ever lived. You cannot, it's impossible. It's impossible because people have concluded very different things. All right, so here we go. Here's Inspiring Philosophy's response, ladies and gentlemen. This is cherry picking, Mohammed Hijab. You're ignoring that other rabbis disagreed with Rashi and argued Rebecca was 14. And I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, 14 fits way better given the description of her. But even that, you don't have enough to make an accurate conclusion of her age because you do not know how old she was in Genesis 22. It just says this is when Abraham heard that a bunch of people had been born. How long had they been around already? Some of them had been around for decades. So you just don't know. It's like Mary in the Bible. It doesn't give an age for her. So all you have to kind of go on is speculation that, well, she's a young woman or something like that. So that's all you have to go on. Anyway, this is cherry picking, Mohammed Hijab. You are ignoring that other rabbis disagreed with Rashi and argued Rebecca was 14. And here we have it. Rashi's comment on this apparently historically irrelevant detail is that the Torah informed us that Yitzhak, after marrying Rivka, waited for 3 years until she was old enough to engage in intercourse and become pregnant, 14 years old. In his commentary on Genesis 24:16, item 91, Rabbi Kasher in his Torah Shlema deals at length with the conflicting opinions about Rivka, that's Rebecca, with the conflicting opinions about Rivka's age at marriage. So there are conflicting opinions. Sifri on Deuteronomy 34:7 claims that Rivka lived to the age of 133 years, same as that of Kehat, son of Levi. Our author calculates that if Rivka had only been 3 years at the time when she was married, that the calculation would be wrong by 11 years. He proceeds to give details tracing the various ages of our patriarchs and matriarchs down to the birth of Kehat. He also understands the Midrash, according to which Abraham heard about the fact that Bethuel had fathered Rivka as not meaning that this had occurred at the same time as the Akedah, but that Abraham had belatedly heard about this. Yeah, because that's what the text says. It just says he heard news from home. As proof that Rivka could not have been only 3 years when Eliezer met her, he cites the fact that her brother and mother referred to her as that would be a maiden or young woman, a term never applied to someone younger than 12 and a half years of age. Did you catch that? The term used of her, which would usually be translated as maiden or young woman, is never applied to someone younger than 12 and a half years of age. So they'd have to say this is the only time that this term is ever applied to a girl younger than 12 and a half, and it's applied to a 3-year-old. What do we have here? The rabbis disagree as to the age. Another quotation. The rabbis disagree as to the age of Rebekah at the time of her marriage to Isaac. The statement of the Siddur Olam Rabbah and Genesis Rabbah that Abraham was informed of Rebekah's birth when he ascended Mount Moriah for the Akedah is interpreted by some as meaning that Rebekah was born at that time, and that consequently she was only 3 years old at the time of her marriage. Other rabbis, however, so there are other rabbis, conclude from calculations that she was 14 years old, and that therefore she was born 11 years before the Akedah, both numbers being found in different manuscripts of the Siddur Olam Rabbah.
By the way, the word that we just stumbled upon earlier there, the Hebrew one is nara. That is a girl, and is in Jewish law understood to be generally in Jewish law understood to be in reference to a girl that is at the age where she's transitioning to becoming an adult, between young and adult, so around the ages of 12, 13 or something like that, where she's ready for performing the commandments of the Bible, but not yet ready for marriage.
Interesting. And there at the end you had the Sifar HaYashar gives Rebekah's age at her marriage as 10 years. So what do you have? You have a couple of rabbis who said 3, based on the assumption that when Rebekah's mentioned that means she was born right then, when that makes no sense because it mentions a bunch of people, in fact, multiple generations of people that Abraham heard about at that time. No basis for concluding, oh yeah, that as soon as Rebekah was born, he got the email from home. And what do you have? You have others that say 10. You have others that say 14. Why are they giving different ages? Well, you don't have a lot to go on, so they're doing their calculations very, very differently and coming up with different numbers because you don't have an actual number. And then you have, however, the rabbis were simply wrong. There's nothing in Genesis 22 or 23 that says Rebekah was born the year Sarah died. The rabbis were creative and read that into the text. We simply do not know how old she was when she married Isaac. Stop cherry-picking sources to push this bad argument. Ouch.
There's a funny thing. There's so much disagreement on what Rashi actually said. There is so much disagreement on what Rashi meant. There's disagreement with Rashi himself, including by certain other scholars like Ibn Ezra, who is very, very much respected, and who also, by the way, focuses very much on the linguistic and grammatical aspect and analyzes the text and so on. Where Rashi is more of a kind of a traditional legalistic commentator, and like one of the discussions that they have is as also here referenced here, which is that when it says that he waited till she was 3, that's not really what it says. What it says is literally. And he waited until she was ready for marital relations 3 years. That's what it says there. So it doesn't say until she was 3. It says 3 years, which some understand, which is also understood as the waiting was 3 years, and there is no indication at all to how old she actually was. It's just the waiting period lasted 3 years until she was ready. That's being pointed out, and so on. So. And the majority of rabbis disagree that she was a young little girl. They also say it doesn't make sense because she's carrying buckets and feeding the camels and so on. So the general understanding in Jewish tradition is that she was a young woman at the general common age for marriage. When they married. That's it. Nobody understands it as her being a 3-year-old girl.
Progressive Overload says, from the context of Genesis 22, she was born shortly after the sacrifice. Show us that. Chapter and verse, Progressive Overload. I'm blocking you for being a liar like Hijab. We're literally exposing the lies here that you guys rely on, and you just you double down and say, oh yeah, in context. We're getting really sick of this, guys. All you guys do is lie. Show me that, or I'm blocking you. Guys, keep in mind, I'm giving him an opportunity, right? If he can show that, I'm saying show me that. If he can't, then it's a lie. So either apologize for lying, that would be one, or show us. It's a simple request. If you're saying, oh yeah, right there it says it. Okay, show us that. Show us. Or I'm blocking you because you're a liar, like your hero Hijab. Do you need a minute? Do you need a minute to look it up? Because I'm guessing you just said that because you're a liar and you wanted to make something up. Am I not merciful, guys? Hijab said it. I said, show us that. I challenged the entire ummah. Show us that. Show us where it says that. No one could. They changed the subject and said rabbis. Then what gets pointed out? Wait a minute, you're saying rabbis? But rabbis argue a bunch of different things. So why'd you pick the two rabbis? Why'd you pick the two rabbis that could give you something that you could use to argue that Abraham and Isaac were conspiring to rape a 3-year-old? Show us. Show us why we should go with those rabbis. Especially when they're wrong. They're saying they just, oh yeah, it's mentioned here. That's when she was born. There's no way you can interpret it. I mean, you can interpret anything however you want. It gives a list of people who are that Abraham found out were his new relatives. And you just say, oh, that means she was born right then. That's insane. And others pointed it out. Other rabbis pointed it out. No, you have to go with those rabbis. Why? Why do I have to go with those rabbis? I disagree with them. I think their reasoning was silly. Why? What?
I'm looking at this. At this
he
response.
said, hang on. He said, I corrected myself.
Good. There's this response from this rabbi who says, well, apparently we are to assume that children at the time of Rebecca were quite different, considering that they were able to just feed camels, carry out buckets of water, and so on. So if she was 3 years old and she was carrying those things, then who are we to judge?
Yeah,
wouldn't say anything about our time.
Powerful.
Of course, sarcastic response, but
yeah,
and it's just absurd.
All right, so Progressive Overload corrected himself. We'll let that slide. We are merciful. We are merciful here. AP seems like he's not merciful because he's a German Turkish dude, but we're actually very merciful.
Now.
Okay, so here is my response after Inspiring Philosophy. And what I find is you can repeat this stuff all day long. Their followers do not get it. So you just keep pointing it out, hoping for the one who's actually paying attention and who actually cares about honesty and integrity. But I said, Mohammed Hijab cherry picks whatever helps him to this because Inspiring Philosophy, I'm responding to Inspiring Philosophy pointing, he's cherry picking. Now he's like, oh, these two rabbis say this. Okay, other rabbis corrected him. Why go with those rabbis? If you want to say this rabbi is correct and other rabbis are wrong, then you have to show that their argument was correct. They just had a better argument. They don't have a better argument. They have a terrible argument. It's the other guys who have a better argument, and they point out, hey, you don't actually have that in the text. And yet he insists. Why? Just so he can accuse Abraham and Isaac of being pedophiles. This is insane. This is sick. Mohammed Hijab cherry picks whatever helps him defend and promote pedophilia. Think about the level of perversion this takes as he first lies and says Abraham and Isaac were pedophiles. He told his gullible followers, who also want to believe Abraham and Isaac were pedophiles while claiming to respect them, that this is found in Genesis. Then, when we expose him for lying about Genesis, he tells us that we have to agree with later Jewish rabbis, whom we can't possibly agree with here because their interpretation of Genesis 22 makes zero sense, and whom Hijab has carefully selected so that he can argue Rebecca was 3, even though, again, this makes absolutely no sense in Genesis. He does all of this in order to justify pedophilia. Hijab is so desperate to convince people that pedophilia is acceptable that he's willing to lie about prophets he claims to believe in. This man is pure evil, just like his fake prophet who had sex with a prepubescent girl. I bet the grooming gangs are his biggest fans.
Powerful.
Absolutely. Guys, this is one of the key elements. This is one of the key elements of the grooming gangs is that they need a defense of sex with little girls. And Hijab, people like Hijab and the Muslim sources are the ones who give them that. They give them the justification for having sex with little girls. In other words, he runs around, yes, even Prophet Abraham had sex with a 3-year-old. I mean, Isaac had sex with a 3-year-old. Abraham set it up. So yes, don't let them condemn you for sex with little girls. This is evil, evil, evil stuff. We've got more, ladies and gentlemen, because we got some video clips. We got the famous clip of Mohammed Hijab. Mohammed Hijab saying that if you just go with the Quran, you'll conclude that you can have sex with a 5-year-old, even a prepubescent 5-year-old. Very clear on that. And when I say that's what he said, he calls me a liar, even though I shared the video clip of him saying it. But he calls me a liar, and his fans love him for saying I'm lying with the video clip literally in their faces. He knows his fans. He knows 100 generations of first cousin marriage has destroyed their ability to hold a coherent thought on anything. Let's take a couple super chats, and then we will jump into that video, see how Hijab, it's a short video. We're going to look at it. We're going to see how Hijab lied about it. And then we'll say that he actually tries to provide video defense to show that I'm lying. We're going to look at all that. And the reason is, guys, I mean, think about how many lies we're exposing here. I mean, this is dawah. This is the defense of your religion. This is insane. What'd you say, huh, for?
Nothing.
Good. Let's check this out. AP, you could make music from just ripping Quran pages and throwing it against the wall. Get a sampler sequencer. It could start with a fire.
That is true.
But that would be very Islamophobic, Joker Man. Mosh Cohen, D Wood, didn't you see Eurotrip? Scotty doesn't know. No, I didn't. And that was us not understanding what Mosh said earlier. I never saw Eurotrip.
No. I think I did accidentally see it one day.
I did see European Vacation with Chevy Chase, but that's different. No sleep for me tonight. First, GL Live. Now
which one is the one by Which one is the one by the Lampoon guys?
That was European Vacation, National Lampoons. Well, unless they also made Eurotrip, I don't know. But European Vacation with Chevy Chase was National Lampoons.
I saw that one on accident. Okay.
Wait, I just skipped that. No sleep for me tonight. First, God Logic Live. Now YouTube. Yep. Awesome. Even if their assumptions lies were right, the ages were symbolic in Genesis, meaning you can't even use math because they likely weren't that age. Here's a situation where I don't want to say even if you're right, because it's just a lie, right? So in other words, if a bunch of people lie, don't say, well, even if you're right. The only place for even if you're right here would be that even if they were right and Isaac had sex with a 3-year-old, we don't take Isaac as our standard of conduct. We would say he's wrong. Just like we say David was wrong when he had his buddy Uriah killed. We don't say, oh, he did it, therefore it was fine. We say he did it, shame on him, he was wrong. And so if Isaac had sex with a 3-year-old, we would say Isaac was wrong and that was a bad thing to do. We wouldn't say, oh, therefore we can all go around banging 3-year-olds. We wouldn't do that. So you can say, hey, even if you were able to point out something like that, your conclusion would not follow. Muhammad in Islam is not the same thing as Isaac in the Bible. Muhammad is the pattern of conduct. If Muhammad does something and it's evil, that's something that he's telling his entire community is good. But yeah, you just have to show us. You're doing the math here. Show us. And they can't because it's a lie. And that's what dawah is. Islamic fan fiction's really putting those perverse animes to shame. Yeah, they are. They like it. Abdul's be using Steiner math. Steiner math. That's a clip I showed you that one time when he's going, if you take my 66 and 2/3 chance of winning and you add my 25% chance of blah 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 blah, and he did all awesome math to conclude that he had 137.5% chance of winning the match and so on. Anyway. When I discuss this topic with Muslims, both online and in person, a common response I get is that the ages for women did not begin being counted until puberty. Their source, everyone knows that. Bull. That's complete nonsense. Tell them to show you that.
Yeah.
And again, it does. If all you had was 9 and then you wanted to say something and make something up, that would be one thing. When it's saying that Aisha was still playing with dolls because she hadn't reached puberty, what do you do with that? oh, well, puberty doesn't mean puberty, and they didn't start counting up until puberty until after you've gone through puberty, you'd have to get some flat out nonsense there. But yes, what you're encountering, Cruz, is that they will constantly lie to defend their prophet. That's what they do. They lie to defend their prophet.
Urinating upon one another. Mm-hmm. That's what they do.
David, we have Ayatollah. So Abraham, you take. Here's the Steiner math. So Abraham, you take your 33 1/3 chance minus my 25% chance, and you got an 8 1/3 chance of winning at the Kaaba. But then you take my 75% chance of winning. If we was to go 1-on-1, I got 141 2/3 chance of winning. It's classic. Probably my favorite wrestling promo of all time. Mohammed be like, 6 and up, that's what's up. 9 and under, that's my thunder. Also, too young is just a name in China. I just screenshotted that. I'm stealing all that. Are some people really incapable of critical thinking? Yes. 100 generations of first cousin marriage is no joke. I'm serious here. I was talking to a Muslim friend, and he brought up something about 70 tribes going to Jannah, but the rest all go to hell. Your thoughts? He started to act more skeptical once he saw my Hebrew tattoo. No, that's actually, Muhammad said that his ummah will be divided into 73 sects, and that only one of them is going to Jannah.
Yeah.
Which should be terrifying for Muslims.
Every Muslim group nowadays walks around saying we are the one. Out of the 73. Mm-hmm. That's how Muslims are.
It seems like you would be pretty terrified. Matter of fact, if you knew that that's what Muhammad said, that 72 out of the 73 sects are going to hell, I probably wouldn't want to be part of the group that constantly lies about Abraham and Isaac and calls them pedophiles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, ooh, I seems like I'm part of one of the bad groups here. German equals worse merciful. Blessings, AP,
yes.
D Wood.
That's true.
You're not German.
That's what it works.
Stefan. Hijab, 2 rabbis walk into a bar. Hey, David, I sent you proof that Rebecca could have carried jugs to feed Camel at 3 years old. All it takes is for her to eat spinach. Oh, yeah, he put a little cartoon of a little toddler eating some spinach in a Popeye cartoon. That would be the only way. You might want to make a little video out of that next Soccer Night. MAGA, make Anatolia Greek again. No, everything must submit to Al-Islam. The world would become so much better if we were all banging our cousins and little girls. What do you say to Muslims who always say weak hadith? I usually stick to Bukhari and Muslim for that reason, but I still hear it all the time. It's pretty... Yeah, fortunately, so pretty much everything in Bukhari and Muslim is considered good as gold. There are some exceptions where they make some arguments and so on. Fortunately, if you go to sunnah.com or you get the you have the Darussalam editions for the other main collections, so Sunan An-Nasai, Sunan Abu Dawud, Jami at-Tirmidhi, Sunan Ibn Majah, it gives the grade. So if you're giving a hadith and it says Sahih on there, and someone says, "Oh, weak hadith," flip it back on them. Always flip things back to prove what they're saying. You show me reputable hadith scholars who outweigh these guys that say that this is a weak hadith. Because keep in mind, some Muslims are just trained to scream weak hadith in order to keep from having to defend Muhammad. What is it? It's another lie. Guys, are you starting to understand? I mean, you should have understood this from past years, but even if you're new, you're starting to understand that this is all just lie. All these guys do, all you are trained to do in dawah is lie all the time. And it's just weird because other people have to actually, because you take the biggest con artist in the world, he's actually very careful about lying because he doesn't want to get caught. The Dawah guys lie freely because they know their fans do not care. Their fans love the lies. And so they don't care. They're the only liars on the planet that I can think of who just do not care because their community loves it when they lie. Massively dysfunctional. If Rebecca is 3 years old in Genesis, her father's also 3 years old. Absolutely correct, Seth. Did everyone catch it? I mean, Lars, Seth. The claim that she's 3 years old is based on when Abraham hears about her. But it's the exact same time Abraham hears about her father, too. So if you're saying when he hears about her, that means she's born right then, that would mean her father is also born right then. And so you'd have to conclude that, like, how this was born was, it was just like a Russian nesting doll of people showed up and they all split open and they're all born at the exact same time. And so you've got the dad and he's coming out, and then the daughter's coming out of that. And so, and they actually have to believe that. Something like that. So that is a good, quick response to bring up. If Rebecca is 3, how does she have a YouTube channel? I think they're talking about Rebecca.
That is a good point. But I think there's actually one thing, which is that when we met Rebecca, she actually her YouTube channel was 3 years old.
Oh yeah, that's funny. This is the proof. Don't let the Dawa guys hear that. That will be, they'll use that. Oh, how can you argue with this? I guarantee. As stupid as what we just said was, if Hijab actually argued that in a tweet, he would get thousands of likes on it from his completely idiotic followers.
This is a sign by Allah.
Maroney Holmes says, D. Wood, your response to Momo was not appropriate. The Bible is true. In the New Testament, Jesus was ordained high priest in the order of Melchizedek. I don't know what you're responding to there. D. Wood, your response to Momo was not appropriate. I don't know what that's referring to. Is AP okay? Seems low. Well, AP has been a bit ticked off ever since Salwan was brutally murdered. And then what does he see? What does he see? It's not like back in the day when they would all go, oh, it's so sad. We're all brokenhearted. Muslims are brokenhearted over this. They're all, yeah, that's right. He got what he deserved in your face and you're next. And then like realizing we've been warning people about this for years and people are actually still getting slaughtered because no one will listen. And to this day, politicians, journalists, no one, that man was just killed because that guy was killed. Salwan Momika was killed for the exact same reason tens of thousands of young British girls were raped, gang raped, all that stuff. It's the exact same reason. Leaders absolutely refuse to acknowledge a basic reality, basic factual information about Islam. And anytime anyone brings it up, people start screaming Islamophobe, bigot, all this stuff, which, keep in mind how evil this is, guys. Keep in mind how evil this is. We're not just talking about like Muslims or Dawa guys or any of these guys saying, oh, you're Islamophobes if you do this. Politicians do that. Journalists do that. You say, look, hey, you're wondering why this guy just did this. Here's the source that explains it. And they say, you're an Islamophobe. Shut up, bigot. They're part of programming the society, the next generation of leaders, the next generation of journalists, that under no circumstances can you ever look into what Islam actually teaches, which keeps the rapes, the gang rapes and so on going, which keeps the murders going. And someone like AP, his life is actually on the line. Why? Because there are people who are defending everything in the world that actually calls for his death and his public execution. And it keeps coming up and we keep seeing it over and over again. It's like, what are we doing here, man? What are we doing? Fortunately, people are catching on. That's why we keep at it. But it's disheartening how willfully stupid and cowardly people are.
Yeah, I have to say, this ain't a song for the brokenhearted. No, yeah, I have been kind of...
What becomes of the brokenhearted who has love that's now...
The very same night that Salwan Momika was murdered the other day, that same night my gout started flaring up brutally, and I woke up with
gout, man?
Immense pain, and I had to get some medication and all that, and now looking into handling it differently for a while. And then the Salwan thing happened. I took it lightly a little bit. Went online, started talking about it, then saw thousands of Muslims bragging, laughing, celebrating, justifying it. I still have until now, I have only seen a total amount of only one person, only one single Muslim person actually condemn it. I haven't seen any other Muslim condemn it. And I'm being completely serious here and completely honest here, not exaggerating one bit. If you have seen those, please show me. I have only seen one Muslim person actually condemn it. The best thing that I've seen is from other Muslims say, yeah, I wouldn't advocate, or I don't think he should have been killed, but he got what he deserved, or he got what's coming. That's what happens when you do this, and so on. This is just a common response, and you have these people going around and celebrating all of these people who for 15 months during the war cried about, oh, genocide, genocide, genocide. We don't get what we want, therefore genocide. How dare you not feel bad for us? How dare you not end your lives for us? How dare you have a proper Christmas for while our people are suffering over there, and so on. The very same people come out and justify and celebrate the murder of Salwan Momika, whose only crime was to rip up. Sorry, this is a good design. I can't rip this up right now. Was to rip up and burn copies of this disgusting book, the dumbest book ever written, the most horrible, the most disgusting, the sickest book ever written, which is a pain to read. They are celebrating this. And you have other people then jumping in and saying, when you respond to these bastards, when you respond to these people, you have then other people saying, "Oh no, we shouldn't. Yes, the situation is very bad, but we should be calm and nice when we react to it, and we should be, we should be better than them." I don't want to be better than them. I don't want to be better than them. I don't want to be better than them at all. I think that they deserve to be dealt with the same way that they treat others. I think in the instance of Muslims around the world and Islamists around the world, I think they should be treated the way they treat others. I think they should be treated the way they treat apostates. They should be treated the way they treat blasphemers. They should be treated the way they treat minorities. When you go through the Muslim world and look at Christian minorities, you will see that Christians suffer in the Muslim world. Every day, Christians suffer in the Muslim world. In Nigeria, in Pakistan, in Egypt, in other parts of the world. If they are not outright out there trying to fight and dying, they are quiet because they always have to keep a low profile, always have to make sure they don't make the Muslim hosts too angry. You know, it's very funny. I was recently looking into Oriental Orthodox Christian, denominations and churches and groups. There's something very funny that I quite recently found out, and I'm kind of surprised that I only recently found this out. There are, in Orthodoxy, it is a common thing to use icons in churches and in religious practices and so on. It's a common thing to use to Mother Mary, to have different Jesus icons, to have saints and so on. There's actually a thing where many Oriental Orthodox churches and other Eastern Orthodox churches, and even other Catholic churches and others, formally and officially abolished the use of icons and similar things, and still to this day don't use them, or only use them in very subtle ways, for one simple reason. That is because they live in Muslim lands, and the Muslims could get too angry and could start massacring them and burning down their churches and harming them, which is why they had to alter the rules of their own religions, the rules of their own churches, to appease the Muslims so that they don't get killed by the Muslims. Many churches, many Assyrian churches and others in the Middle East still have this thing in place where they say it is officially disallowed to use icons, although they are part of our doctrines, because they were abolished because we don't want to be killed by the Muslims. So we will still abide by this until whatever the future brings. This is how Muslims treat minorities. Religious groups, religious minorities in the Muslim world have to change their own religion, their own practices, because the Muslims won't leave them alone. And then they come over here. Over here, then, they don't have to change anything. When they come over here, it is once again other religions that are the hosts who have to change their own practices and who have to change their own ways. And the Muslims, again, make their demands. Everybody has to walk on eggshells and has to change their practices and their beliefs and their ideas and their appearances and their holidays and everything and their names, so that the angry Muslims don't get angry and so that they don't kill you. And then when they kill you, you actually have people going around and justifying it and saying, "Oh yeah, we should just calm down. We should." I don't want to calm down. I don't want to calm down. I want to advocate for European nations, for Western nations to collectively engage in remigration and to deport as many people as many Muslim people who disagree with fundamental values of Western nations as possible. It is a failed project. You shouldn't have people over here who celebrate murder online, who celebrate discrimination online, who stand with Islamists online. You shouldn't have these people over. And then if you have them over, if you tolerate them, you shouldn't act surprised when they go around and kill people. Anyway, on top of this, I am pretty much the next person here in line who is most prominently receiving death threats every day now, and receiving, "Oh, you are next, your time will come too, you will get it too," and so on. And of course, I'm expected to act reasonably and to say, this is dangerous stuff, dangerous business. I shouldn't be doing this. I should calm down and so on. I don't want to calm down. I know this is dangerous stuff. I don't want to calm down. And even if they kill me, just like they murdered Salwan Momika, who was a hero and who had bigger.
And by the way, that's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, he said he was going to get killed, and he would not stop at all.
And keep in mind, he knew it. He could look around. These people are not going to protect me. These people want to kill me. And these people will not protect me. And therefore, do the math, I'm going to die. It's a matter of time. He knew it.
Yes.
He knew it ahead of time. And guess what? He was correct. He was correct. Those people wanted to kill him and were willing to do it. It's one thing to sit around running your mouth all day, like lots of keyboard jihadis and stuff. He knows that within this community that is saying, yes, he has to die, there are enough people in there who are actually willing to do it and seek martyrdom and get their virgins in paradise and stuff who would actually do it. And he knows there's no one who's going to protect him at all, period.
He announced it just a month before he was murdered. He said, "I know the Muslims will kill me, but I will not stop. I am right here." And he knew very well that his own that the government that he was asking for protection would not protect him. He knew that the Swedish people and the Swedish government are cowards, and that they wouldn't protect him either. They don't even protect their own people. They don't even protect their own girls. They don't protect their own women. They let others come in and rape them. They don't protect their own people. Why would they protect him? He was very, very, very much fully aware that that they wouldn't protect him either. So he got killed. In the same way, I know that this is not good. I know that we are engaging in some business that is dangerous. I know that we are engaging in something that really ticks these people off. But what else can I do? What else can we do? Are we supposed to change ourselves and back down and let these monsters, these evil people, take over and bully people into silence? Do I really want to sit here and let those people? Why are we doing this? Why are we playing their game? Why are we letting them bully everybody in the world? Why are we letting them humiliate and oppress everybody in the world? Why are we doing this? Why in the world are we doing this? The Christians of the past did not do it. They didn't back down. The Crusaders didn't do it. They fought back. And in all honesty, Christian Europe, they defended Europe to their deaths. They died. They're not around anymore. There is no Christian Europe right now. It's a bunch of sellout. Gender queer prostitution Europe. That's what's around right now. It's a bunch of prostitutes. There is no Christian Europe right now. But when Christian Europe was around, they defended Europe against the Islamic invasions with full force. The one mistake that they made was to go too lightly and not to give them the punishments that they deserved for their repeated attempts to invade the West. And right now, what are we doing? Right now, we observe how these questionable people in the West bend over and say, "Come rape me, come take my country, come take my body, come take my girls, rape me. It's all right. Probably, maybe you know better. I don't know." That's how they are. Salwan Momika had more courage than all 1.8 billion Muslims combined. He had bigger balls than all of them combined. He was
Yeah.
like the Christians of Europe that are no longer around.
Yeah, can you imagine that guy's like, I believe in freedom and I'm willing to die for it. And meanwhile, we can't find like one Muslim on the planet who's willing to even debate whether Muhammad was a prophet, which if they actually believe they could show it, they should all be willing to do, and all their debaters should be willing to do. No one will come near it. There's a guy who's like, I will die for what I believe in. And you can't even get Muslims to give an argument for what they believe in.
If that guy,
Bunch of cowards. You calming down now? Did you get it all out, man? Leaf says, is AP okay? Seems low. Yeah, Leaf. He has reasons. He has reasons right now. I mean, when you're seeing people who are basically in the same boat, the only real difference, because guess what? We trash the Quran regularly. The only difference is he was in Europe, and say what you want about the United States, you're significantly more safe in the United States than you are in places like Sweden right now. But apart from that, like AP's in the same boat as that guy as far as people calling for his death and so on. AP's a bit safer because he's in the U.S., but they want the same thing. And someone who really wants to do it enough, that's something to be. And again, it's not for me. It's never about a bunch of idiots screaming, "We'll kill you! We'll kill you!" I think of these guys as like morons and so on, and that this is all Exhibit A in how screwed up their religion is and how demonic their religion is. For me, it's the reaction of people. It's Western leaders and Western journalists, and it's like, are you guys freaking nuts? Do you guys not have one testicle at all among you in all of Europe? It's that sort of situation. And it's like what AP was saying. Come, rape our daughters. Come, please, we're begging you. We have to show how tolerant we are. We pointed this out a while back, that you had people who were saying, no, what the grooming gangs are doing is not according to Islam. And you look, and it's what possible basis could you have for saying that? And it's that in Islam, you conquer people, then take their wives and daughters as your sex slaves and so on. And you haven't done that. And they say, so it's not, and it's like, no, the reason in Islam you conquer people first is because people would have fought to protect their daughters and wives. And therefore, of course, you have to conquer people first. Then you take their daughters and wives. They will defend their wives and daughters to the death. And all of a sudden you get to modern Sweden, modern Norway, modern Germany, modern France, modern UK. And it's, no, we will give you our daughters if you just don't call us names. Just don't call us Islamophobes. We'll hand our daughters over to you. Do with them as you will. Matter of fact, we'll help you. If their fathers try to protect them, we will arrest their fathers and throw their fathers in prison for being racist and so on. My point here is that the pagans in the 7th century Arabia, the pagans would do more to protect their daughters. It's understood that the pagans would fight to defend their daughters, and therefore you had to conquer them first. Modern Europe, you don't have to conquer them. You've already conquered them by calling them names, and they'll give you their daughters as tribute. Yeah, modern Europe is more pagan than 7th century pagans were. It's far more pagan. They offered their daughters up as a sacrifice on the altar of tolerance to a bunch of lunatics. It's insane and idiotic. You understand why AP might be down? You understand why he seems low?
I want to apologize to Poland here. When I say that Christian Europe is dead, or there are no European Christians of those times anymore, I'm speaking mostly about Western Europe. I'm speaking mostly about those Europeans who have turned into complete idiots and have sold out and so on. I'm not speaking about Poland, for example. Poland is completely different. I wouldn't go and praise Eastern Europe. They all have their own problems and are kind of preoccupied with the weirdest things in the world. Poland is one nation that has kept up the fight and the spirit, and has not allowed their people to be turned into whatever Germany and the UK have become. Poland and Hungary and some of those countries, they are still there. The rest should maybe take an example and look at those countries and see how it's really done. And you know what angers me about all of this is also that then you have some other people who will agree with you that Europe has a problem, that the West has a problem, and that all of these decades of just allowing the Islamists to be rampant and to roll over you, all of that was a problem. And then those same people will look at many of those people will then look at Israel and start blasting Israel for being unjust and buy into Islamist narratives and say, oh, genocide. Well, Israel is doing this, Israel is doing that, Israel is doing this to that one Christian person that got caught in the middle of a war. I'm not sure what people are thinking when they say that Europe should be stronger and Europe should not let things happen to their own people. I think people just imagine that these are just some slogans, some memes, some things and some fables where everything just works perfectly. No. What Israel is doing is what Europe should have been doing for decades. In fact, Israel is not even being harsh enough. Israel is actually protecting their own population. Europe is not. Israel is actually taking care of their own people. Europeans are not. Israel is doing whatever they can to prevent whatever happened to Europe from happening to their own people. That's how it happens in reality. When you say we should be different, we should protect our people, we should be stronger, we should not allow this, we should not allow Islamization. This is not a joke. It's not something that you read in books. It's not something that you see in movies. It's what Israel is doing right now. That's how it's done. You shouldn't be shaming and blaming Israel. You should be doing it. You should be striving toward building a nation that does exactly what Israel does when they are attacked, if not better.
Hey, when you're talking about Poland, normally when Eastern European nations that are not as open to bringing in tons of jihadis, normally when we talk about them, I bring up that it's more in their memory of having to deal with jihad because you had the Ottoman Empire constantly trying to invade and then constantly having to push them back. Whereas, places like Great Britain didn't have to deal with that sort of thing nearly as much. And so it's fresher. It's still people still remember it. They still remember Vlad the Impaler and so on. And they think of him as a hero and not as like a lunatic, like lots of other people, like in America, they think of him as like a nutcase and Dracula and so on. He's viewed as a hero. Because he kept the Ottoman Empire from coming in and taking over and so on. But you know what else I'm thinking? Because you bring up Poland. Here, I think it may be similar to something I said. I said a while back. I said that I would, if it came to protecting a girl from being raped by jihadis, I would trust a randomly selected United States prison inmate more than I would trust a British police officer. And people would say, oh, but don't you have like child molesters in prison? Yeah. They're a small minority and they are treated like garbage in prison. They have to check into protective custody or other inmates are going to beat the crap out of them on a daily basis, if not kill them. It's understood. It's like almost any, let me put it this way. You have violent crimes and stuff up here, murder and all this stuff. And you got like robberies and drugs and stuff. And then down at the bottom, you've got rapists, child molesters and snitches are down at the bottom, but child molesters and snitches are below rapists. And there are guys who are just there. It's understood. If you are in here for messing around with a kid, you are going to have an awful life. So you take some of these guys, and if they were to see someone actually about to do it, I think they would be quicker to intervene than a British police officer who would be more concerned with being called an Islamophobe. But I also think that's part of the reason a randomly selected prison inmate is not going to let you control him by calling him a name. He's not going to say, but you're an Islamophobe. You can completely 100% control a British police officer by calling him an Islamophobe. And you can control his behavior and keep him from protecting a girl from being gang raped just by calling him a name. An inmate would not be the same. And the reason I say that's parallel is when we think about Poland, Everyone makes fun of Poland. You were talking about growing up in Germany, and the jokes are all about Polish people, and they'll steal your stuff and steal your car. In the United States, all the jokes about Polish people are about how dumb they are. And I think it's like you can't control Polish people by calling them names because everyone's been calling them names all along. It's like an inmate. You can't control an inmate by calling him names because he's already been accused of much worse things. Name calling is not going to help. You take some guy who's like, oh, I have to keep up my reputation to be a wonderful, good person at all times. And you say, we're going to call you a racist. No, I'll do anything you want. Just don't call me that. Don't do that. And you can't control Polish people like that because everyone's been making fun of them for decades now. And so,
as the local police force, we have to be. We must participate in the next Pride Parade to show how good we are and to show how fun we are. We have to dance and to put on a wonderful show in this wonderful nation, this cheerful, beautiful, fabulous nation that turned from the empire where the sun never sets into a gay club.
something like that. All right, let's take a couple more super chat, and then we got to get to these videos. Y'all happy? Y'all happy now? You got AP to respond, to vent his frustrations with the world and the way how much things suck. Islamophobia isn't
respect to Salwan Momika. Would like everyone to remember him. I kind of I also kind of I feel like shame myself a little bit in a way that I didn't appreciate him and highlight him or connect with him as much when he was alive, and I kind of feel bad about that because I feel like even I, with my views here, kind of got carried away over time by thinking, maybe the Quran burning stuff, it's like it's getting old and so on. That was a big slap in my face, and I personally feel sorry for not having highlighted and for not having stood with somebody like that more, and he deserves everyone's respect and recognition. He's a hero.
And he shall be avenged on the Quran repeatedly, especially every year on the anniversary of his death, where we will have some Burning Man-like celebration of our right to burn the Quran. We're going to have to find a spot out in the desert and vet people very well, and we'll all go out there and have we'll make a Prophet Muhammad. Make a Prophet Muhammad figure out of piles of the Quran and then burn the thing. Chloe says, Islamophobia isn't a good word because phobia is Greek for fear of, but I don't fear it. It repulses me. Instead, let's pathy and pathos, meaning suffering or a disorder. I am Islamopathic. Yeah, especially since phobia as it's used now refers to an irrational fear. It's a mental illness. You say, hey, we'll kill you if you do this. Say, oh, I don't want that to happen. You see, you're an Islamophobe. Oh, you don't want little girls being raped and gang raped. And you've got a mental illness. Yeah, it's stupid. Bible says 12-year-old Jesus is a child. Yep. And Jesus says not to corrupt children. Satan's personal cult is Islam. Just look at all the Momo brain, rot, pedo, zombies surrounding hostages during release. Yeah, it is creepy, those hostage release videos with all those weird guys around them. But yeah, so it's not just Jesus. When Jesus heals the little girl, he says, little girl, I say to you, arise. And it says she was 12 years old. So a 12-year-old in the Bible is still called a little girl. A little girl. Mary's called a woman. New idea, Quran with the author Mohammed on Bacardi. You could do that. I often see you and Muslims cite different Muslim sources other than Quran. Are those word of God as well? Is it like tradition in Catholicism? Thanks. No, it's a little different. So you have the Quran, and this could be a little difficult for Christians to grasp because it's people think that like, oh, the Quran is like their Bible. No, the Bible's more like the Quran and their other sources because the Quran is supposedly the eternal speech of Allah. It's not inspired in human authors, or it's not inspired human authors writing it like in the Bible. It's the actual speech of Allah. It has always been there, and it just gets handed to Muhammad by the angel Gabriel in little parts over time. They're like imprinted on his brain and so on. So that's the speech of Allah. But that's not all they're told to believe in. They're also told in the Quran that they have to obey Muhammad's teachings and decisions. Those are not in the Quran. Muhammad's teachings are not. Muhammad taught the Quran, but the Quran is not Muhammad's teachings. That's Allah's eternal speech. So in addition to the Quran commands them they also have to follow Muhammad. So Muhammad is the pattern of conduct according to the Quran, and Muhammad's decisions are binding on Muslims according to the Quran. Where do you find those? You find those Muhammad's decisions and his behaviors in other sources that are called the Hadith. So if you see someone quoting something and it's Sahih al-Bukhari or Sahih Muslim, it's some other source. If it's a Muslim quoting, it's probably the Hadith. And they're quoting Muhammad because according to the Quran, Muslims also have to obey Muhammad. So hope that helps. I've been planning for years to just make a short video explaining the different Muslim sources for that situation. I've never gotten around to it, but I need to. What's up?
And then you have an imbecile here saying, actually, it was exposed that the Quran was written by a rabbi.
That's funny. If they want to spread that, that's funny. That'd be funny. A Jew wrote the Quran. You forgot about Mimi Hijab's response, Melchizedek in the Trinity. Yeah, I don't know what that's referring to. I'm not familiar with that. Why can't they dedicate their time helping the poor? That would be a better use of time. Momika and same event time force fight the right. Wait, Momika and same eve time force fight the right. No idda, no. Aisha's goat says, no idda, no bidda. It's clear as can be. 3949 says, if no touch, then no idda. That's correct. But 65.4 gives a wait time to those yet to bleed, meaning consummation, Islam's dark deed. So this is all poetic. I didn't read it according to the meter. But yes, according to 3349, there's no idda, there's no waiting period if you haven't consummated the marriage. That's why I said that when 65.4 is talking about the idda for prepubescent girls, it means you've already had sex with them. If you hadn't consummated the marriage, there would be no waiting period. So that is correct, Aisha's goat. Based Autistic said, AP, I don't know if it makes you feel better, but as disheartening as it is to see people not listen, your work has caused people like me to listen. Your guys' work is amazing. 100 of your fans worth 1 million Muslims. Catch that?
Well, Thank you. I appreciate it. And I really appreciate the community and everything that we have. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. It is. And this is going to help. This will actually, he may be grumpy right now, but it actually helps AP, knowing that there are people who are listening and there are people who are paying attention, and that we do have a cool community of cool people. Jack Ray says, cool. AP is Mr. Furious from Mystery Men. That's funny. That's Ben Stiller. You've never seen that, have you?
No. Mystery
Men's funny. His power was rage, but it wasn't clear if he was imagining it or not. He just thought it was rage. And then in the end, his rage finally takes over and he becomes like super strong. It's funny. There's another. They had weird powers. There was one guy who's like the invisible kid, but he's only invisible if no one's looking at him. You catch that? He's only invisible if no one's looking at him. So you think this is a useless power, and they're like, "How do you know if you're invisible if we all see you?" And he's like, "I just know. You just know." And then in the end, there's this thing where there's this weapon hooked up to a motion detector. And he says, it's my time. And he says, everyone turn around. So everyone has to not look at him. And then he becomes invisible and is able to get past the motion detector. Anyways, it's pretty funny movie. It's one of those movies they call a cult classic. And yet the lie of religion of peace will continue. People just will not open their eyes. Well, fortunately, seriously, you don't see that as much. 15 years ago, it's all you heard about Islam. Every time you mention Islam, you had to say it. Now, not so much. He ripped
because
Quran.
Now you also have the Muslims openly admitting that it's not a religion of peace, or that it's actually a religion of submission, not peace, and so on. So, I mean, on the one hand, it looks like things are sometimes a little bit grim and bad. On the other hand, you have lots of people kind of awakening and seeing some of these things that that people were saying a while ago and revealing them as false. So, yeah.
He ripped the Quran. He ate the Taliban. Most of all, he Ridvan. He ripped the Quran. He hate Taliban. Most of all, he Ridvan. There we go. I got it right back.
That's good.
I never heard of a 3-year-old toddler being able to get water from a well to give to 10 camels until they're full, roughly 300 gallons. Yeah, I remember searching that once before. It pops right up if you search, how much water can a camel drink? A camel can drink up to 32 gallons of water at a time. They can drink this much water in a short amount of time, sometimes as little as 13 minutes. A camel can drink 32 gallons of water in 13 minutes. So your math is correct there. 32 gallons, 10 camels would be over 300 gallons of water that this little 3-year-old carried. Super strong, super based girl. Stefan says, AP, when in Germany, try to reach also Serge Menga. Serge. In the book of Jubilees, 35:27, Rebecca died at 158, and in Genesis, Isaac died at 180. Isaac met her at 37, but waited 3 years to marry. 40, that would make her 15 when they met, and after waiting 3 years, 18. Keep cooking. No, you just have to go with 3, because that's what jihadis need to defend child marriage. IP, give D Wood some airtime on Timcast tonight. Wait, what? Do you hear that? IP gave D Wood some airtime on Timcast tonight. That's interesting.
Believable.
Now we might actually have to watch it if it involves us. You guys are inspirational and fearless and super based. AP, watch out. Someone might go full Christchurch. Yeah, we don't want that. Yeah, so quit promoting that, AP. Love from Norway. Norway. That's where my
No way.
great-great-grandparents were from. Hebrews 6:20, Jesus Christ was ordained high priest of Melchizedek. Yeah, I know that. I don't understand what point you're saying. I don't understand what point you're making from that. I know that. I know about Hebrews. I know high priest, because that comes from the Old Testament. Priest after the order of Melchizedek. I don't know what you're saying. Keep up the great work. We need you. So we shall. I live 20 minutes away from the Philly plane crash. Yeah, when I saw that, I just looked it up. But yeah, there was a plane crash in Philly now.
What happened to that? What happened to that?
I don't know, a little plane crashed. I think it's a small one. I think there were like 6 people on board or something like that. Tezbot says, hi, guys. I appreciate your work and bravery. I'm trying to tell people the truth, but deaf ears. Facebook comments disappearing. UK loss. Yeah, it's definitely not good in the UK. People get arrested in the UK now for Facebook posts. I agree with AP. There's no other way to stop them. Yes, many of us are immigrants and in a way hypocrite to stop immigration, killing people, but for words, celebrating massacre, enough. Again, I was just talking about this later. As far as immigrants and ICE right now going after illegal immigrants and so on, I understand. I've said that if I were in charge and if you've been here a while and you crossed the border illegally, but you never got into trouble and you've just worked, I would come up with a way. I'd say, okay, we have to do something. We have to do something. You have to pay a fine or something like that. But, you've done nothing but contribute since you've been here. And so we're going to come up with a way. But right now, so far, they've been going after people who are like criminals and violent crimes and stuff like that, going after them. That is how you should be going after people who promote jihad and so on. In other words, and by the way, they've started doing that. The people who are supporting Hamas and so on, they've started going after those people and so on. But yeah, if you, especially immigrants and so on, if it's a citizen of a country saying that, that's a different category. You have to figure something out. But if you are here on a visa or something like that, and you're supporting jihad and killing apostates or any of this stuff, if you even sounded like you were supporting that, boom, gone, instantly gone. And all Western nations should be like that in a heartbeat. And then they should figure out ways to deal with just people who are promoting it. If you're announcing you want to kill apostates and stuff, and you're working towards overthrowing society, there should be ways of doing. Keep in mind, I'm not saying murder these guys or something like that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you shouldn't just be letting them do that at all times. And yet we seem hell-bent. We seem hell-bent on helping them. It's insane. I still believe that The moment Western nations stop being cowards, if you seriously just made it completely acceptable to be blasting away at Islam and exposing Muhammad at all time, I don't think Muslims are going to want to live here. I don't think Muslims are going to want to come. I don't know if I don't know if you guys have noticed, but they don't seem to deal well with criticism. And a Muslim immigrant can come from a Muslim country to the West. Yeah, he'll encounter someone criticizing Islam at some point and so on online, but the vast majority of everyone in any position of power is doing nothing but defending their religion. If the moment you came to a Western nation, you found out about how messed up the Quran is and how stupid Muhammad was and all this screwed up stuff, and it was just blasted nonstop. You're not going to want to be bringing up your kids here and so on. You're going to be terrified of this place. A based West would be terrifying to Islam, and yet we try to make the West as inviting as possible to Islam. So much so that if you're saying, yeah, we're going to kill the apostates, we're going to do all this stuff, we say, yeah, oh, great. Isn't it great that he's saying all this stuff? Yes, take our daughters.
Good news is that it wasn't a big passenger plane. The bad news is that it was a small medical plane carrying 6 people, including a girl that just had gotten, that was just transported to get medical treatment and to fly back to Mexico, I believe, when then the plane crashed. Mm-hmm. There is no updates on injuries or anything at all.
Stefan says, Western Europe need balls. That is true. That's it, guys. Can you imagine we're in a world where the solution...
Wait, there was a joke. There was a joke. That was by Oliver Kahn, who was a famous football player, goalkeeper.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, you knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't watch that sport, if you can call it that. But yeah, imagine that we're actually in a situation where the solution to like 80% of the problems is just having balls at all. That's it. It's like there will still be other problems, but like 80% of the problems can be solved by just having balls and not caring that people are calling you names. That's it. You've solved most of our problems. Please wear Diddy Grandpa hat. Why are people obsessed with that? David, I love your big blue mug. Yeah, I do too.
I love your big blue mug.
I've had that thing for probably 20 years just because I was like, ooh, I could have a lot of coffee in this thing. D-Wood, I appreciate your reply and knowledge. Thank you. I'm glad someone does. There will come a time when the worm turns and society's pushed back very harshly. Seen it happen before firsthand. I believe it will happen in the West. I believe it too, and that's one of the things I've said for a long time. The longer you wait, all you people who say, oh, we don't want to cause any conflict, the longer you wait, the more aggressive the response is eventually going to be, because you're basically waiting until people are ready to explode, and then you're going to deal with the problem. You could have dealt with it at any point far more easily. Simply, Rebecca had to be born already for her birth to be announced. That's true. She was already alive when Isaac got the announcement. That's true. More school, less mosque. Yeah.
I just asked ChatGPT, could a 3-year-old girl carry gallons of water to fill 10 camels? It said, no, a 3-year-old girl cannot carry enough water to fill 10 camels. Why? Water required for camels. A thirsty camel can drink 20 to 30 gallons in one sitting. 10 camels need 200 to 300 gallons of water. Carrying capacity of a 3-year-old, at best she can carry 1 gallon at a time, if at all. To transport 200 to 300 gallons, she would need to make 200 to 300 trips, assuming she carries 1 gallon per trip. This is physically impossible for a child, with impossible in bold.
You should make a little video on that.
Even if she carried 2 gallons per trip, which is highly unrealistic, she would need 100 to 150 trips, which is still beyond a 3-year-old girl's capability.
and keep in mind, when it says gallon, that's talking about like a gallon in like a thin plastic jug, right? Where the jug has almost no weight, like a milk jug or something like this, and you fill that with water. If you're talking about clay pots like they would have had back in the day, clay jars to fill up, those clay jars are heavy. And so she might have been able to get like half a gallon or something like that at a time. So you're talking hundreds of trips. AP, you should make a Lily J type video response to. So you just read Mohammed Hijab's tweet and you go, Chat GPT, could a 3-year-old carry enough water to water 10 camels? And then get the answer. Wouldn't that be perfect?
It would be.
It's like you're talking like a 4-minute from beginning to end of that video, and you're done.
They'll be
One member of each of the 72 tribes actually become one of the 72 Horisochi martyrs. Oh, yeah, it's talking about where those other 72 tribes go. AP and David, you played a vid by Ara Americana. I used to talk with her on X, but lost touch when she was suspended. Does she need support?
She was banned. We discovered her together one day. I don't know if you remember.
I do.
For burning Qurans. She got banned after posting. I forgot what it was, but she got permanently banned. She signed up once more, got banned again. I am in touch with her. She's dealing with different things right now. She asked me if I could publish her video, and I said, of course.
Is she banned for burning the Quran, or was it for other stuff? Did she do something else? Because if it's for that, then we might want to, I mean, people should actually appeal it and say, like, are you serious? These guys are killing people for this, and you're gonna ban people? So you're actually imposing the Sharia that these guys are trying to impose through killing people? You seriously want to do that on X?
We should make some big wave about that, considering also that she was also friends with Salwa Momika, and he just got killed. We could make some noise on that. I have to check what she told me about the ban, and then get back to it.
AP's righteous anger earlier made me realize how hard it must be for you two to do these things. Thank you for standing up to protect women like me. Without wall, you can't paint. Your health is important. Without wall, you can't paint. Got that? If you could meet Mohammed, what would you ask him? I'd say, hey, tell us what hell feels like.
I would just beat the crap out of it.
Yeah, and tell us what it's like spending eternity getting a flaming pineapple shoved up your butt on a daily basis. UK needs
give him this and say, here, maybe you could try this. I would say to him.
No, if I were talking to Mohammed and I could actually record it, I'd be like, hey, how does it feel knowing that you received tons of revelations and you said repeatedly that the scriptures of the Jews and Christians are the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God, and almost none of your followers believe you and they all think you're just making that up? How's that feel? How's that feel getting people to be this dumb that they don't even believe you if you say something that one of their Dawa guys doesn't agree with? What's that feel like? UK needs a reconquist. Sponsor me as a refugee.
Sponsor me as a refugee.
We'll see. I understand, AP. I'm angry. It kills me that I have people caring about me so much to show my face and rant to my heart's delight about these orcs. Very rude. Why is it?
Oh. It's because I don't know.
Eve time equals every time. It's same, not address issue.
David can't even read. It's a perfectly fine
I usually don't understand abbreviations of things. AP, I noticed you laugh exactly like my Serbian friend. AP's secretly Serbian. No wonder you hate Turks because you are secretly a Serbian. Jokes aside, God bless you too. Thank you.
That's a good point. Thank you. Appreciate that.
A 3-year-old girl does not have the linguistic skills that Rebecca had. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Apart from carrying all the water, she's having these discussions and so on, and deciding whether she wants to go with the guy and so on. And her parents leave it up to her and so on. So,
were you there?
Gents, still collab with CP. It's been a while. Keep up the amazing work. I've said before, I generally collab with my friends. I don't have a big urge to collaborate with other people. The internet's big. Everyone's got their channels. I'm good with the people I know. Sticking with the people I know.
I support what CP does, and all the best to him. I guess we just have different ways. I don't know.
Dee says, your thoughts on biblical characters living to 130 years and giving birth as centurions. I don't have much thoughts. I let other people deal with that sort of thing. There are some people who interpret it as like metaphorically and so on. There are some people who say, no, it's just a different time and mutations hadn't built up and stuff. And I don't know. And it's never been something that terribly interests me. AP, please wear a blonde wig to parody Lily. That would be funny if you did that whole thing in a blonde wig.
That'd be good.
Let's get AP a GoFundMe for more guns. My wife and I are big fans. Thank you for your bravery and what you do, and be safe, my dude. That would be funny if instead of asking for a computer, like, I need $20,000 for an arsenal. I need an AK-47, and I need this, and my wife needs 2 small guns, and my kid needs a 22, and all that stuff. Right? Have all your kids. There were these skits way back in the day. No one remembers it because the show didn't last very long because they kept making fun of someone who was like connected to powerful people, and then the higher ups canceled the show because they kept making fun of them. But it was called The Edge, and they had a family called the Armed Family, and everyone in the house is constantly carrying a gun. They were always shooting each other, like in the arm and stuff, not murdering each other. But anytime they disagree, they'd shoot each other, like in the arm. That would be funny. When did you hit the gym, Daily Wire? You were fat in 2019 and other interviews you did. Oh, I've gone back and forth. Here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. It's just like I've said before, like learning things. If I learn things quickly, but I forget them quickly too. If I do not use them, same thing with languages. I pointed out before. Like I took all the way through advanced German. I don't know German anymore. I can kind of get the gist sometimes, and I can pick out words. But I took all the way through advanced classical Greek. I'm even worse than German because you still hear German here and there, and so it's still in your mind a little bit. But Greek, if you're not like using it, it never comes up. And so I do not remember. I remember basic things like certain words and so on, but I forget those. But it's the same thing with working out. If I basically watch what I eat, I can get in better shape pretty quickly. And if I don't, I will gain 50 pounds in a couple months if I'm not paying attention. So anyway, that's just.
The funny thing is that the last time you started going back to the gym, I think it was around the time that I told you I'm going to the gym regularly. And I don't know if that motivated you to go back as well. But
I can't have AP getting all shredded and then I'm a big slob.
But then you actually stayed and I just dropped out of it. So. Need to go back to. Need to be like Vlad the Impaler, who, by the way, was a Catholic, not an Orthodox, as somebody pointed out earlier.
I was there when I got banned. It was just a case of mass reporting. She didn't say anything bad. Oh, I think that's talking about the other when she got banned. That Ara America.
Yeah, Ara America.
Robert Spencer was banned in the UK. Just recited Islam hate. Yeah, Robert Spencer's still banned in the UK. What do you think of Japan's path to Islamization, allowing prayer spots at almost every public space and now having halal alternatives? Disaster? Well, they'll find out, but it'll be the hard way. Could you explain how the night journey was a dream? Well, I mean, I think the night journey is just made up. It's late, right? You go to the Quran, it doesn't say anything about it. You can't even tell that it's talking about Muhammad. It's a later thing. So I think this is a later made up thing. But if you go with their earliest source on it, it's Ibn Ishaq, and Muhammad never left his room. His body didn't leave, and therefore you'd have to say, okay, if he sees himself doing all this stuff but he doesn't leave the room, what would that be? That would be a vision or a dream. And so not him physically riding around on a dragon like the Never-Ending Story.
Yeah, it was pretty. I mean, it's pretty obvious that it was a dream. He also said that when he came back, his bed was still warm, which indicates that he probably peed the bed. So
yeah, guys, you have all kinds of sources on there. It is clear tons of people are making stuff up here, and so yeah, it's not good evidence. Why does David Wood always say Muhammad is getting a pineapple shoved up his blank? Also, I don't think hell is eternal, David. Am I a heretic? No, you're not. I'm making fun of. That's from the movie Little Nicky, where Hitler's punishment was getting a pineapple shoved up his butt every day. And so that's where that comes from. The notorious JEW says, I have to thank AP again, since without him, I wouldn't have met Egyptian atheists. He's such an amazing friend, and we call daily now.
Egyptian atheist is the best.
Is he based?
He's very, very based. He's an awesome person. He's it's kind of funny because I befriended him long time ago before I started any of this. When I had a tiny Instagram account back in the day, which was later on banned, and where I was just posting edgy memes about Islam. And that's when he started out, and he started posting edgy memes about Islam, and I really liked his really messed up dark humor, and we started connecting and exchanging numbers, and we are kind of still in touch and friends to this day. And he's just He's just one of the best people I know. I don't know, and he's also very, very well connected and knows a lot about the Middle East, and sometimes helps me out when I need some help in understanding Arabic stuff and all that. He's a very, very based guy.
January 29th, World Burn the Quran Day in memory of Sal. We are. We don't know exactly. We have not made any official plans on how to do this, but we guarantee there will be something pretty epic for the anniversary every year. And says, I was talking to Ara when she was banned. She said nothing wrong. Can we lobby for her with X? That is another problem. Lots of this stuff goes to human reviewers, ladies and gentlemen. That's always been the problem with like YouTube. It's you can do everything you can and not break any rule. Your stuff gets flagged by random people or AI or something like this. You ask for a human reviewer, that human reviewer can do all kinds of things, right? It could be a person who has a high respect for freedom of speech and says, I'm not banning this. This doesn't violate any rules. It could be a person, this person hurting someone's feelings, ban, right? That's a problem. So it's still the same thing on X. X is significantly better than it was. You still have lots of algorithms and stuff that are detecting things. You still have people can complain about things and flag things, and you don't know which reviewer this is going to. And so, sadly, the only thing that seems to work is like knowing someone who is in good, like if you got the attention of like if you were buddies with the Babylon Bee and something like that, they seem to have ears over at X or something like that. But yeah, seems like, I don't know. And you might want to try calling out Elon and then we could all share it, right? Something very simple. Hey, this woman got banned on X for doing nothing wrong. Why is this happening and stuff like that? And we can all share it. Other than that, I don't know exactly what to do because it's hard to get in touch with people with the power to do something. Can't wait to marry my boo Abu Ubaidah now that the war is over. Yes, that's good. And he talks about you all the time, AP. Abu Ubaidah talks about you all the time.
Oh, yeah. We're good friends now. So.
Hey, what's this? Inspiring Philosophy messaging me right now. You came up tonight. Someone brought you up in a super chat. 27,000 watching. That's cool. It's cool getting updates from IP as it's going on. That's pretty funny. He's sitting in there and sending out updates on how everything's going. All right, guys, we had
it's already over because they keep it to 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
Unlike us.
Yeah, unlike us. That's right. That's right. We have no limits, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we've been going a while. I did just want to cover this last issue of these little video clips. These little video clips where Hijab says, "I'm a liar." What'd you say?
They're not like us. They're not like us.
Yeah, they're not like us.
Yeah, continue.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for all the super chats. Don't know why there's a ton tonight, but there are. All right, so I tweeted this. Meanwhile, Hijab admits that if you just go by the Quran, you'll conclude that it allows grown men to have sex with prepubescent 5-year-olds, and that this leads to a severe type of pedophilia. Note, Hijab is one of the most popular Muslims on the planet. AP, seriously here, right? Look at what I said, because he calls me a liar. He calls me a liar for this and says that he says the opposite. We're going to look at this. We've been through this clip. In fact, we reenacted the clip and we played out things and illustrated things with a saw. Because he was also saying that if you just go with the Quran, you would conclude that you can kill your wife if you wanted to, striking at the neck. So anyway, AP. When I say, meanwhile, Hijab admits that if you just go by the Quran, you'll conclude that it allows grown men to have sex with prepubescent 5-year-olds, and that this leads to a severe type of pedophilia. As someone who's been through that clip tons of times, and we went through the entire thing, we went through the whole thing in a live stream once, ladies and gentlemen. Is that exactly what he said?
Yes.
That's exactly what he said. Now, I always clarify and I point out, he's not claiming that you can have sex with a 5-year-old. He does say that you can't go around the fact that the Quran allows you to have sex with prepubescent girls. But he says that you have to go outside the Quran. Outside the Quran, if you want to find out that you shouldn't have sex with a 5-year-old, you have to go to the example of Muhammad and you have to apply this obscure harm principle. And then you can find out maybe you should wait until she's a little older, something like that, right? But I'm pointing out here, he says, if you just go by the Quran, you'll conclude that you can have sex with a 5-year-old. Why? Because that's exactly what he says. It's exactly what he says. And if you don't believe me, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and watch the clip. So this is clip. These are the parts where he's saying this. Once again.
If you look just at the Quran.
Yeah. And he says this repeatedly in multiple ways. This is Mohammed Hijab talking to Quran-only Muslims, and he's telling them why it's a problem to go with just the Quran. If you just go with the Quran, you'll conclude that you can have sex with a 5-year-old. And therefore, you need to go to other sources to find out that, no, you should actually wait a little longer than that. It's exactly what he says. We're going to see it, then we're going to go back to the tweet, and then we're going to see him call me a liar and say he said the opposite. Interesting stuff. All right, so here we go.
If you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old.
Everyone catch that. If you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sex with a 5-year-old. Am I making that up? Did I CGI that? Is that AI? Was that an A? No, that's on his channel, guys. That's on his channel of him supposedly schooling.
The Quran.
Yeah. Here we go.
If you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. The reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old is not found in the Quran at all.
The reason it's haram is not in the Quran at all.
If you just read the Quran, it is halal. It would be halal to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old.
Halal, permissible. If you just look at the Quran, it's halal to have sex with a 5-year-old. Is he saying that? And I'm bringing it up because you're saying, of course he's saying that. He's going to say, no, I said the opposite. We're about to see him say that.
In Surah Al-Talaq, chapter 65, verse 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us who you can divorce and who you cannot divorce. And then he says, وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ.
That's exactly the passage I brought up earlier, Surah 65, verse 4, which is talking about sex with prepubescent girls. This is Mohammed Hijab confirming it and agreeing with exactly what I say.
The ones who had never been pubescent before. And by the way, this is very important, yeah? I want all Muslims to be aware of this. The reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds or whatever.
Keep in mind, guys, I mean, even in this clip, like, aren't I acknowledging that he says you can't have sex, you can't have sex with a 5-year-old because of this other thing, right? I'm saying just going with the Quran, you'd conclude halal, that you can have sex with a 5-year-old, and he uses Surah 65, verse 4 to show that it's completely justified. I mean, in other words, this is not distorting anything he's saying.
It's not because of puberty. Wait a minute,
what did you say?
It's not because of puberty, because that verse in the Quran actually says lam yahidn. They never had puberty before. You can't go around that.
Did you hear what he said? You can't go around the fact that the Quran is talking about marrying and having sex with and divorcing girls all before they've reached puberty. He says you can't go around that. You can't. It's acknowledging prepubescent. It's acknowledging it. Let me back this up just because he says I'm lying.
Is not because of puberty. 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds or whatever is not aware of this. The reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds or whatever,
but some of you do,
is not because of puberty.
Deport.
Wait a minute, what did you say? It's not because of puberty, because that verse in the Quran actually says lam yahidn. They never had puberty before. You can't go around that.
Can't go around that.
The Quran doesn't say anywhere in the Quran that the woman has to be pubescent. I dare you to find one verse in the Quran where it says you're not allowed to marry someone based on harm, or you're not allowed to have sexual intercourse based on harm, or you're not allowed to marry someone based on puberty. So if you're a Quran alone, you're allowed to have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds.
Did you hear that? If you're Quran alone, in other words, if you don't go outside the Quran, if you're Quran alone, What did he say? Let's back it up because he calls me a liar. It's funny. He can say things in 10 different ways be completely clear. And then if you say, hey, look at what he just said, he'll say, you're a liar. I said the opposite. And his fans will say, yes, what a liar. What a liar to accuse Hijab of saying this. Because 100 generations of first cousin marriage prevents them from being able to understand basic words. But here's what he says.
Based on harm, or you're not allowed to marry someone based on puberty. So if you're Quran alone, you're allowed to have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds.
If you're Quran alone, you're allowed to have sex with a 5-year-old. He just said it. If you just go with the Quran, you're allowed to have sex with a 5-year-old.
Get me one verse in the Quran which says the woman has to be pubescent.
One verse.
One verse. I want one verse in the Quran from the beginning of the book to the end of the book which says that she has to be pubescent. So okay, so that makes it halal from your perspective. From your perspective, it's halal. You know, in the Quran it says, حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمْ أُمَّهَاتُكُمْ. It says you're not allowed to marry your mum. It says you're not allowed to marry your sister or your auntie. Where does it say you're not allowed to marry a prepubescent? I'm looking for one verse.
One verse.
That you can say, you pinpoint it and say, this is where it says prepubescent marriage or whatever is not allowed. So if you're Quran alone, you're steered towards pedophilia and a severe type.
Did you just hear what he said? If you are Quran alone, meaning you don't go with other sources and later commentaries and things like that, you're steered towards a severe type of pedophilia. The Quran, not according to me, according to Mohammed Hijab, the Quran, if you take it by itself and do not let other later people change it, change the commands, you will be steered towards not just regular pedophilia. You always picked up on the severe type, right? Because he doesn't want to say you'll be steered towards pedophilia, because he knows even the other Muslim sources steer you towards pedophilia. The other Muslim sources do it too. When the hadith are talking about Muhammad having sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl, that's obviously pedophilia. So he's trying to say that the Quran is worse. And what is he at? Oh, a severe type of pedophilia, meaning 5-year-olds and so on.
Yeah. We know we all have pedophilia in our religion, but if you buy the Quran only, it's a severe type of pedophilia.
Yes. So just to be clear, all of us, Quran only, non-Quran only, standard Sunni, Quran only, all of us agree we can bang kids. But if you just go with the Quran, you'll have to think you can bang even younger kids than the regular kids that we bang. So
you're sick in the mind. How could you argue that you can bang even smaller kids? It's a severe type of pedophilia. What's wrong with you? We're only mild pedophiles.
Isn't it funny? We're making fun of it. That's what he's saying, right? Mild pedophilia is fine. Severe type of pedophilia, that's what you have to guard against. This is dawah. He's doing this dawah at Speaker's Corner, surrounded by Muslims of various kinds. And he's saying, hey, guys, mild form of pedophilia, average, moderate pedophilia. There's moderate pedophilia and extreme, severe pedophilia. Moderate pedophilia, good. Extreme pedophilia, severe pedophilia, no. That's why you need the hadith. But here you go. Here's the end.
Say, you pinpoint it and say, this is where it says prepubescent marriage or whatever is not allowed. So if you're Quran alone, you're steered towards pedophilia, and a severe type of pedophilia, a wife abuse, a severe type of wife abuse.
Everyone get there. Did he say that if you just go with the Quran, you will conclude that it's okay to have sex with a 5-year-old?
Yes.
Did he say that that's halal if you just go with the Quran? Did he say that, everyone?
Yes.
He said it repeatedly and in multiple ways, right? So let's go back to what I said. And let's check out his response. So meanwhile, Hijab admits that if you just go by the Quran, you'll conclude that it allows grown men to have sex with prepubescent 5-year-olds, and that this leads to a severe type of pedophilia. Severe type of pedophilia? That's exactly what he said. Severe type of it's exactly what he said. Prepubescent, he said that. He said you can't go around it. And 5-year-olds, that's his example. He said 5. I didn't say 4. Why? Because he didn't say 4. He said 5. And it's, what is all this set up by? If you just go by the Quran. Is that exactly what he said? Did I accurately represent what he said here? Absolutely, indisputably. If you're a Mohammed Hijab fan and going, no, he didn't say any of this, then my goodness, you will serve as a warning, hopefully, to future generations about the dangers of generational first cousin marriage. But let's go ahead and check out Hijab's response, because this is the champion of dawah here. What's he say here? You and your fellow anti-Muslims have resorted to desperate distortions. I distorted what he said. This full clip proves I said the opposite of your claim. Your obsession since your 2018 humiliation explains your need to lie. Did you catch? He's literally accusing me of lying and saying he said the opposite of what we all just watched him say. We all just watched him say this. We saw him say repeatedly, if you just go with the Quran, you'll conclude that it is halal. He said it. He said it. Do we need to go through the clip 10 more times before his fans will acknowledge, yes, that's exactly what he said? What's he do? So keep in mind, he's responding to Quran-only Muslims, and he says, hey, if you just go with the Quran, you'll conclude that it's halal to have sex with a 5-year-old. And you'll be steered towards a severe type of pedophilia. He says this. If you just look at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sex with a 5-year-old. That's exactly what he said. What did I say he said? Meanwhile, Hijab admits that if you just go by the Quran, you'll conclude that it allows grown men to have sex with prepubescent 5-year-olds and that this leads to a severe type of pedophilia. Exactly 100% what he said. When I point out that what he says, when I just point out what he says, he's ashamed of it and he lies about it. And as he's accusing me of lying, he accuses me of lying when he's lying. This is dawah. It's indisputable, guys. It's indisputable. And I do have, just in case some Hijab fans are looking, they're like, look, he's provided video clips. Let's see how many people look, 337 people, not very many by Hijab standards, but 337 people agree with him that I'm lying, even though we just looked at the clip. What does he know about his fans? He knows all he has to say is, no, they're lying about me. And his fans will agree with that. It doesn't matter what the actual evidence is. But just in case there's some Hijab fans sitting here going, but he's provided the video clips. Let's go ahead and look at those video clips that he provided. I downloaded both those video clips. So those little clips that he shared to show that he said the opposite of what I said he said. Let's go ahead and watch them. Here are the two clips. The
reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with those people is because of harm. The hadith says, La darar wa la dirar. And I've said before, the reason why is because of the sunnah, not because of the Quran.
How's that the opposite of what I said? I said, isn't that amazing? So I said, hey, Hijab says if you just go with the Quran, you'll conclude that it's okay to have sex with a 5-year-old. And then he says, no, I said the opposite. So what would the opposite be? The opposite would be, if you just look at the Quran, you'll conclude that you can't have sex with a 5-year-old. That's what the opposite would be. What does he say? He says, I'm showing you it has nothing to do with the Quran. It's from the Sunnah, not from the Quran. Great. That's exact. How's that the opposite of what I said? It's exactly what I said. Let me go back. Won't interrupt them.
The reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with those people is because of harm. The hadith says, La darar wa la dirar. And I've said before, the reason why is because of the sunnah, not because of the Quran.
Not because
such a verse, la darar means you can't inflict harm to anyone else. You know, I'm going to make a point to you today. And
so that was his first video clip that supposedly shows he didn't say what I accused him of saying, which happened to be exactly what he said. So that was one clip, and then you've got the other clip that exposes me as a liar.
Saying this, and I'm going to back it up with evidences. Let me repeat my point. We both agree that it's haram and it's wrong to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. Okay, good. My premise today.
And what is his reason for that? Well, he's applying some harm principle. So you have these hadith. It comes up as daif when I look it up, but I'm assuming there's some other version where it's actually a higher matter of fact, let's go ahead and look at it. Let's go ahead and look at this harm hadith. Again, I will assume when I saw a Muslim referencing it and I looked it up, it came up as weak. But I will assume that there are other versions where where it's sahih or at least something else. But here you have it. So this is Sunan Ibn Majah 2341. It was narrated from Ibn Abbas that the Messenger of Allah said, "There should be neither harming nor reciprocating harm." You catch that? It says, no harm, no harming. And Hijab says, oh, well, if it says no harming, then that must mean that even though the Quran allows sex with prepubescent girls, that we're supposed to apply this harm principle, and it would be harmful to a 5-year-old, and therefore apply it there. I think that is an absolutely, I mean, to be fair, I hope they apply it and therefore don't have sex with 5-year-olds, because you do have Muslims like Daniel Hakikachu defending sex with 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds and so on. So I hope they actually apply it. With that said, do you seriously think you could just apply a no harm principle wherever you want? I mean, these are guys who advocate chopping heads off of apostates and so on. But that's harm, right? It says no harm. It says don't harm. You have all sorts of situations, strike at their necks, all sorts of warfare, all sorts of punishments, lashings and so on. What do you mean no harm? You can't just say, oh, Allah allows this, it's halal, and then turn right around and say, oh, but I'm going to apply this haram principle, so therefore I can't, and I'm not going to have sex with a 5-year-old.
The problem is we know how this was historically applied. We know how they had historically decided whether there is harm or not. We know about the concept of them arranging a marriage of a little girl to an older man, and then basically leaving up to the parents to decide whether she is ready to have sex with that old man or not. So ready meaning whether she will be permanently harmed, permanently damaged by, or get crushed by him having sex with her or not. And often it would just be left up to the discretion of the parents, or just the parents would leave it up to the man in charge, who would say, "Nah, I think we're good. I think we're good. There's not going to be any damage. I'll make sure of it." And then they go ahead and harm the girl and kill her, and so on. This is the harm principle we're talking about.
So, guys,
you can't leave it up to the Muslims to decide whether it's harmful or not.
So the idea here, ladies and gentlemen, is you've got the Quran, and it's not me who's saying it. It's Mohammed Hijab who's saying it. According to the Quran, you would conclude it's halal to have sex with a 5-year-old. It doesn't put any restrictions on this. He says, but if you go to the Hadith, you'll conclude that, well, there's this harm principle. It says don't harm. And therefore, you'd apply that and say, therefore, we shouldn't do it when she's 5 because, that might be a little problematic. It might actually harm her. That's an extreme. You can't. Again, I'm glad someone like Hijab might apply that. I don't know if he's serious or not because he's a compulsive liar. But you'd hope they would apply that harm principle. But with that said, are you serious? Allah says something is halal, and you're going to say, oh, harm principle. Okay. Allah says in the Quran, strike at their necks. You're going to say, oh, no, but harm principle says, it says don't harm, and therefore don't strike at their necks. Or Surah 929, fight those who do not believe in Allah. Oh, no, it says fight those who do not believe in Allah, but harm, that would be harm, and you can't harm. Are you serious? Muslims are going to apply this like this? And AP is pointing out that historically, in the schools of Islamic jurisprudence, when they're coming up with rulings and so on, when some of them actually try to apply the harm principle, they're not applying it like a modern person would. They're not saying, hey, it's harmful to have sex with a prepubescent girl. They're concerned with, can her body support the weight of a man? Or is he going to crush her because she's too small and fragile? That's what they're concerned about. And they're concerned with, is she so small that if you penetrate her, it's going to turn her 2 holes into 1 hole? You're gonna just rip her open. That's what they're concerned with, not harming her. They're not like, oh, you're going to hurt her or something like that. They don't care about that. That's not the issue. It's, are you going to massively damage her or possibly kill her? That's what they're concerned about. So even as they apply the harm principle, it's not making any sort of, it's not making this any better. It's sick,
you wouldn't
sick,
want to
sick,
hurt
evil
your car.
stuff.
If you have a vehicle, you don't want to permanently hurt your vehicle. So,
That's true. All right. So just very quickly back to Hijab calling me a liar, just so we can recap here. What did I say? Meanwhile, Hijab admits that if you just go by the Quran, you'll conclude that it allows grown men to have sex with prepubescent 5-year-olds and that this leads to a severe type of pedophilia. Note, Hijab is one of the most popular Muslims on the planet. And how did Hijab respond? He responded by, you and your fellow anti-Muslims have resorted to desperate distortions. What did I distort? I said exactly what he said. This full clip proves I said the opposite of your claim. We looked at both clips. You said exactly what I claimed. You're just saying, oh, yes, if you go to the hadith, you can apply this harm principle. Great. What's that got to do with what I said? I said, you pointed out, according to the Quran, you can have sex with a 5-year-old. What is this? Your obsession since your 2018 humiliation explains your need to lie. He's accusing me of being a liar. Who's lying here, guys? Muslims who are watching, be honest for 5 seconds of your lives. Who's lying here? You know Hijab is lying. If you have a functioning brain, you know Hijab is lying. The problem is you just do not care, even slightly. It's expected. It's expected that your guys are going to lie.
Or you don't have a functioning brain.
Yeah, and if you still no, he said the opposite because he says he said the opposite. You guys have some serious problems. By the way, what this is the funny part. This is the funny part. This is kind of wider than that. Let me go ahead and read this. This is the other thing we point out. What Hijab just did, ladies and gentlemen, he just worshipped Mohammed and the hadith collectors and his scholars and so on. Mohammed Hijab just worshipped him. He just committed massive, massive, massive shirk. Not according to me, according to his own prophet, he just committed shirk. Let me show you how.
Let me show you how.
Can you show me how to wipe? Let me see here. I'm trying to get this. This is wider than the other thing. Get it up on here. Almost. Okay. There we go. Okay. So this is the Tafsir of Ibn Kathir, and it's commenting on the Quran in Surah 9 when it says that Jews and Christians, you can see it there in parentheses there, they took their rabbis and their monks to be their lords besides Allah. That's the Quran, Surah 9. It's condemning Jews and Christians for taking rabbis and monks to be their lords besides Allah. Then Adi commented, he actually responded when Muhammad revealed this. He says, I commented, I said, they did not worship them. So the Quran says Jews and Christians took rabbis and monks as lords besides Allah. And a guy objects and he says, what are you talking about? They don't worship their rabbis and monks. Jews and Christians don't worship rabbis and monks. So how are they taking them as lords?
You idiot.
Yeah, dummy. And Muhammad replies, right below there. Muhammad replies, yes, they did. They did worship them. Notice what he says. They did not worship them. Muhammad says, yes, they did. They did worship them. Okay, how? What do you mean by worship? They're not bowing down to them. How are they worshiping them? Muhammad explains, yes, they did. They, the rabbis and monks, prohibited the allowed for them, Christians and Jews, and allowed the prohibited, and they obeyed them. This is how they worshiped them. Did everyone catch that? It may be a little tricky. You need to get your mind around that point. So what is he saying? Prohibited the allowed and allowed the prohibited. What's that mean? It means you have halal and haram. If Allah says something is halal and a human being says, no, it's haram, and you go with the human being, you have worshipped that human being. If Allah says something is haram and a human being says, no, it's halal, and you listen to the human being, you are worshiping that human being. Not according to me, according to Muhammad. Muhammad is defining how you worship a human being. You worship a human being. You worship a human being when Allah says one thing and you say, oh, Allah says this is halal, but I'm going to believe it's haram because this human being says it's haram. Does everyone catch that? Is that on the page from Muhammad himself? It's Muhammad who is saying this. Now, what did Muhammad Hijab say? If you go with the Quran, the eternal, perfect speech of Allah, you'll conclude it's halal to have sex with a 5-year-old. But our prophet says don't harm, and we're going to use that combined with the interpretations of our later scholars to conclude that it's haram. He even said that it's haram has nothing to do with the Quran. It's from the Sunnah. It's from the Sunnah. What is he saying? He's saying halal according to Allah, haram according to all these later guys and our scholars, and we're going with them. And not only that, you're evil and bad if you don't go with them. If you just go with what Allah says, you're bad. You're steered towards a severe type of pedophilia. You don't want that, so you have to go with these later guys who tell you to conclude that it's haram instead of halal.
We only do mild pedophilia. Don't be stupid.
Isn't that interesting? So he's, according to his own prophet, he is worshiping his prophet and his scholars and his hadith collectors. He's worshiping all these guys. He's worshiping them. This is Islam. So what do you have here? Mohammed Hijab worships Muhammad. He worships his scholars. He worships all these guys. That's how he gets to a conclusion that it's haram when Allah says it's halal. And what does he do in order to defend Muhammad having sex with a prepubescent girl? He falsely accuses Abraham and Isaac of being part of a pedophile ring. This is dawah. This is one of the top couple of most popular da'is on the planet. This is what they're like. This is demonic.
Beast.
Don't tell us to respect your religion and your prophet and your book when this is how your religion and your prophet and your book cause you to act like this.
Demonic.
All right, everyone got all that? Let's take these last few super chats. Isn't this insane, man? Oh, matter of fact, just before we go, just want to for everyone who wasn't following things earlier and you're wondering where they're getting the claim that Rebecca was born right there at the time of Genesis 22. Let's just to verify, because someone said it. Someone said it does look like that in the context, and I said, "Oh yeah, show me that." And then they said, "No, I was wrong." But here you have it. So this is Genesis 22. It's Genesis 22, and so it's the story of Abraham and Isaac. And then you get to here. So look at verse 19. Then Abraham returned to his servants, and they set off together for Beersheba, and Abraham stayed in Beersheba. And then you have this section here, Nahor's sons. Sometime later, Abraham was told, Milcah is also a mother. She has borne sons to your brother Nahor. Uz the firstborn, Buz his brother, Kemuel the father of Aram, Kesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlap, and Bethuel. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. Milcah bore these 8 sons to Abraham's brother Nahor. His concubine, whose name was Reumah, also had sons, Teba, Gahem, Tahash, and Maacah. So Abraham hears news from way back home, which he had left decades earlier. He hears news from home about all these people who have been born. What does Mohammed Hijab do? He says, oh, since it mentions Rebecca right here, this means right now is when she was born. And he sticks to that because he knows his followers are too dumb. One, they're not going to look up the passage. 2, if they did, they would not comprehend it, and they would just say, oh, well, he must be right. He says, since it mentions her here, this is when she was born. Really? Following that reasoning, then Uz and Buz and Kemuel, that means they were all born right now. Right now. All these people are just miraculously born at the exact same time. That's idiotic, guys. That's just flat out idiotic. And why does he do it? So that he can defend his claim that Abraham and Isaac are pedophiles. This guy is sick and evil, and the Dawah fans love him for it. Absolutely love him. This is Islam.
Nut jobs.
Are people going to call him out for it? No. Wow. All right. Take these past.
Right. Let's take these past last super chats.
And so we shall. Can't wait to marry my boo, Abu Ubaidah, now that the war is over. Oh, I already did that. Let's see. No, I meant EA. EA.
Egyptian atheist.
Oh, okay. There you go. Abu Ubaidah.
EA
Worship Medjed, the true deity. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Rashi said ridiculous things sometimes. So that's Mohammed Hijab's rabbi that he's saying we have to go with, even though it doesn't make sense in the text, and even though other rabbis disagreed with him and said he was wrong, but we have to go with him because that's what you need in order to conclude that Abraham was a pedophile.
I mean, he is one of the greatest rabbis, definitely among the top 10, top 5.
Mm-hmm.
one of the most important rabbis of the Middle Ages, but none of them is considered perfect, infallible, wonderful, and so on. And people disagree with each other all the time. In fact, I mean, this is a thing that is known about Judaism, which is that the one of the values of it is that people disagree with each other all the time on religious matters and everything else. That's it.
So yeah, Rashi said ridiculous things sometimes, like Rekhav's job in Joshua 2:1 in Torah lesson in school. We all giggled. She was selling food, sure, nothing else. Oh, saying that she was just selling food. Yeah. Let's see. We go with only the Bible. Why should we look at other texts to destroy Islam? We don't have to, or do we destroy the religion with Allah's words alone? Yeah, I don't. Why would you think you only go if you're trying to expose Islam? How would you even know what you're exposing if you're not using the text? Yeah, guys, I have to point out, do not have this. Do not have this mentality. I've seen it among Christians before. I don't need to know anything about your stuff. I just need to know my stuff. Okay, you have people, you have Dawah champs who are compulsive liars. The reason people like Ahmed Deedat and so on were able to go around spreading Islam was that people did not know anything about Islam. They didn't care to learn. And this allowed the Muslim preacher to go in and say anything he wanted. So do not think that ignorance of Islam is some sort of Christian virtue. It's not. You're basically giving them the atmosphere of ignorance that they want so they can spread their lies. Don't do that. Know their stuff. Glass shatter sound. D Wood enters in jihadi checkmate ring attire. Dawa boys instantly leave Sneeko's corner. That would be funny. Sneeko's not gonna. What's Sneeko gonna do? Mojab said 5 because it's an odd number. Good, it's not 1. Yes, Allah loves odd numbers. That's why He says you must wipe with an odd number of stones. Coming in late, but IP was talking about D Wood on Timcast. Time for the Dizzle to expose Islam on Timcast while AP comes in with the KO. That would be fun. On the goat.
Coming with the machete. Yeah.
That'd be base. This is quite angering and wrong. U.S. Marine Corps Part 2 time. No, Islam is peace. Feminists and Islamic scholars, good friends? Yes, because the scholars are wrong. I have a chat with one. Good fun. The feminist is Muslim too. Well, that's the best feminist, is the feminist who's also Muslim. If Adam was Muslim, why didn't he start Islam? If Abraham was Muslim, why didn't he start Islam? If Moses was Muslim, why didn't he start Islam? If Jesus was Muslim, why didn't he start Islam? Oh, they all did, but everything was corrupted, and that's why none of it lines up with Islam. That's the answer. Yeah. Wes Huff on Rogan and IP on Timcast. Christian apologetics is going mainstream while Dawah burns. Ooh, that is a good comment. I'm going to read that one again. Did y'all catch that? Wes Huff on Joe Rogan. IP, Inspiring Philosophy. Mike Jones on Timcast. Christian apologetics is going mainstream while Dawah burns. Yeah, who wants Dawah on their channel right now? Hey, I've got my big thing. Let's get Mohammed Hijab on there to defend pedophilia and say that Abraham was a pedophile too.
IP on Tim Pool. IP on Timcast. That's very, very good.
That's
very,
awesome.
Very good news.
Yep. Everyone catch that? It's a good day. IP on Timcast. The Diddy Grandpa hat is back. Yes, it is. Bless you both. Last tip for AP in Germany. David Berger. Nate. David Berger. The Burgermeister.
Sure.
Sahih Bukhari 5517. Muhammad eat. What's that? You want to look at that? Look up Sahih Bukhari 5517. Let's hope it's
5517.
What's Muhammad eating there?
Narrated by Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. I saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam eating chicken.
Oh yeah, but that was corrupted. What was he really eating? Even the PBD podcast put Mo Hijab on blast for the weird kid stuff, so people are figuring it out. Yeah, and then he always responds by doing what? Lying. In fact, that's why he's going after. That's why he's going after the Abraham and lying and so on. It's just I don't know. He seems to be in meltdown mode. Like everything he's doing is just lashing out and getting more people ticked off and more people repulsed by Islam. He's in full meltdown mode. People are figuring it out. Yes, these are good times, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, no Islam, but destroy Quran, the source. Of course you want to. Yeah, of course you want to destroy the source and destroy. Of course.
Oh wait, Tim Pool wasn't on the episode.
Oh, he wasn't?
Okay. Yeah. That's
well, that sucks. My knees has grown well, so no harm. You see, that's good. Loving the Diddy Grandpa hat, everyone. Still don't know what that means exactly. By the way, those 6,000 still up? I'll debate UAP. Oh, this is someone saying.
They was only for special people.
Yeah, those are for special people that we know. They don't. Someone like Mohammed Hijab or someone like that, they're not interested in doing it because they're going to get embarrassed if they try to defend Mohammed. So you had to actually sweeten the pot. Turns out Hijab said even $80,000 would not convince him to debate this.
I should make a video on that. Just Mohammed Hijab says he wouldn't even debate me for $80,000 or to save Gaza.
Mm-hmm. Do you think enough Christians? Do you think with enough Christians going on more mainstream channels, Muslims will be forced to debate? I doubt Hijab's narcissism can handle it. Guys, I think this is going to be a very bad year for them because this happened last year. So you had the Fresh and Fit debate, Sam and Jay versus Ijaz and Daniel Hakikachu. Ijaz and Daniel got completely destroyed. And then so what Muslims were saying, oh, well, let's get better debaters to do this. Let's get Mohammed Hijab and so on. Hijab didn't want none of that. He was terrified. And even Moron Gaines from Fresh and Fit, he was noticing it. He was calling Hijab out. What are you doing, man? What are you doing? Hijab wouldn't even think about it, wouldn't even consider it. Everyone saw that. And now everyone's seeing this here. Hey, is there one of you guys on the play? Even if we hand you a pile of money, if we hand you a pile of cash, will you come here and actually lay out a case for your prophet? No chance. Why? Because it's against someone who knows the Dawah script. They're not going to do it. They're terrified. So now you've got people calling out Islam on these big channels. And so what are these guys going to do? Because they could debate, in which case their prophet will get humiliated and that will be exposed, or they can not debate, in which case they look scared to death. What are they going to do here? What are they going to do? They're stuck. Going to be a long year, guys. We're barely out of month one, and look how Islam is already crumbling. We're barely out of month one.
It is an interesting time, interesting year. The beginning of this year is very, very incredible. You have one Muslim trying to debate and issuing death threats and saying, and then you have these other Muslims being embarrassed. You have Muslims being called out and rejecting debate challenges. You have other Muslims getting humiliated. Then you have Candace Owens turning out to be a trans woman and so on. It's just very, very interesting year so far.
Well, it's not confirmed. It's just the evidence. There's the evidence is mounting for that conclusion, and she's not responding, and people still aren't giving community notes over it. So, do the math, guys. Do the math, guys. A couple more.
Unless
David,
you're paid by Candists.
David, please wear Diddy Grandpa hat. So wait, hang on. Is what you're wearing now a Diddy Grandpa hat, or is it like that other gray hat with the brim? A Diddy Grandpa hat. What is it?
I think they mean this. I still have no freaking idea what in the world.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because one, I probably don't even have one, and two, I don't even know what one is to look for one.
No, that's the other one, I think.
I'm getting multiple requests. David, please wear Diddy Grandpa hat in your debate.
That's the other one, apparently.
YouTube not allowing to say my niece age 9 and I'm 53.
Beast.
Even YouTube has better standards than the Quran. Win in the chat for Diddy Grandpa hat. People are weird, man. You see, this is the truth of Islam. Abraham, Ham is haram. Abraham.
If this live stream was a W, everybody type W in the chat.
Burger or pizza? Burger.
Pizza burger. Yeah.
I like both, and pizza burger. Best of both worlds. Muslims just love kids' marriage. That's the truth, and truth hurts. AP and D Wood. It is crazy how much all of their Dawah guys are willing to just have their entire careers based on this hill. This is the hill to fight on.
I hate truth. Truth makes me sick.
AP, can you launch your own Diddy Grandpa hat merch?
Yes. Well, right now I'm thinking of a different thing, which would be Quran underwear, which is my underwear Quran brand.
Come up with that, and then we can always warn Muslims that we're wearing our Quran underwear, and therefore don't try to murder us, because you'll get blood on the Quran underwear, and you'll be guilty of desecrating the Quran.
I think it would be a nice thing to set up my whole to be a fashion designer and set up a brand that sells like underwear and lingerie in in very appealing ways with different Quran verses. You can like choose regular stuff, casual stuff, sexy stuff, whatever it is, and you can always pick your Quran chapters. Which Quran chapter, which Quran verse do you want on your underwear? And you can design it and then buy it like that. It's a brilliant idea.
It is pretty good stuff. Can you sell Diddy Grandpa hat with a burning Quran on it? That'd be a good idea.
Yes.
We do need some dope merch with this stuff. I've noticed that Sam is the best in a debate. AP, you are a very strong one, but David, you have been too nice. Don't be, tons, destroy. It depends on the situation. Like you guys, like you'll say, no, you shouldn't be nice, guys. It was they made that the rule. That's one of the issues. The Muslim organizers working with Hijab demanded that I be nice and friendly the entire debate, that I not engage in any sort of personal attack, not go off topic, not address anything else other than the topic that we agreed I am allowed to speak about. We were both required to agree that. He broke the rules. And people will say, what? Guys, I'm fine with that. What happened because of that debate? Hijab took over dawah. Lots of people, oh no, Hijab took over dawah. It is the greatest thing in the history of dawah for us that Mohammed Hijab took over dawah. He destroyed everyone who was doing it the way they were back in the day, and he turned everyone into chest thumping morons. You look back at that as bad. You look back at that as bad. That's awesome. That's why it's crumbling right now. That's why they're all child marriage with bang kid. Do you think Shabir Ali would have been doing that? Do you think Zakir Naik would have been doing that? They've said things and so on, but they don't like, this needs to be the public face of Islam. We need to just constantly be talking about child marriage all the time and calling everyone pedophiles and so on. You think Zakir Naik's going to be, Abraham was a pedophile. He was a pedophile. Let me see. Chapter number 15, verse number 22. Abraham sent his servant to find a 3-year-old girl. No, they'd be horrified at that. These are awesome times specifically because the people who are absolutely most revolting to non-Muslims are the people who became dominant in dawah. It's not just Hijab. It's everyone. Ali Dawah, all these guys, Sheikh Uthman, Daniel Hakikachu, these guys became far more popular than they used to be. You need to be loving this time because Islam is imploding and destroying itself because these are the champions. These are awesome times.
But the people...
Breads, the one AP is wearing is the Diddy Grandpa hat. Okay, that's the one you're wearing. How is your foot today, AP? Better?
Not very good. Still pretty bad, but I took a bunch of painkillers to
good.
numb the pain.
My favorite.
I hurt myself today.
My favorite Mohammed Hijab moment was when he began reciting Quran in that weird singing way, and Jordan Peterson was so serious and then asked him, why did you think that was appropriate? That is hilarious.
That is funny.
That may have even been better than when he said, Islam spread so rapidly in its military conquest and it must be from God. And Jordan Peterson said, well, why did it stop when it got to Europe and it didn't work? Well, it didn't work there.
Because it was successful there. It didn't work there.
Allah is only God in certain places. He's not God in Europe, and he's completely weak.
I never really thought this through. I never thought anybody would ask me this question. What an idiot.
Drew says, no, Candace Owens is a real woman, an extra handle for her man's enjoyment.
Oh.
No, but some people suspect that she transitioned to become a woman. I honestly believe the catalyst for the downfall of online dawah in 2025 is the leather straps fiasco. Islam spread by the sword, destroyed by straps. People are finding out what idiotic nonsense this is. Maybe sell Quran toilet paper could sell well. The problem is how you market the stuff, because places like Amazon and so on aren't gonna want to go with that. Why do Muslims want what is this perverted stuff? Isn't Islam such a conspiracy? Allah's message got corrupted, so he gives his uncorrupted, legitimate message to just one guy with zero corroboration, lol. Yeah, it is. That's the difference between other things. Like in the Bible, you got like 40 different authors and so on. Tons of witnesses of various things. In Islam, everything is one guy and him getting choked in the cave by Dihya al-Kalbi. I mean, the angel Gabriel. Pretty sad, pretty sad, pretty sad.
QAnon.
All right, guys. AP, what are we doing something tomorrow, or are we taking it off and then you're cutting out? Do you know? Or do you want to decide later?
I really do want to do something, but I think I might not be able to. I think I might have to take a break for tomorrow and maybe publish a video or publish a clip or something instead, and then get going. I do want to set up a GoFundMe.
Smart.
But if anyone wants to help already, donate on the channels that I have made available. I will need some help covering a bunch of stuff, including safety and security as well. I'll be traveling.
And here's what you do. You say, GoFundMe, computer costs this, camera costs this, security costs this. Here's the total. Send that out. People will cover that because, well, they want you to be safe and they want you to have good equipment to continue exposing Islam. So it would be covered. But yes, assuming he doesn't put that up, because he never does, ladies and gentlemen, you can contribute to his trip and security and so on through the links he has provided.
Plus, if I don't put it up, then David can always just do it for me and just put up a video.
I'll share your thing if you put it up. I'm not doing that work for you when you won't do it. It's actually pathetic. And I have no idea what you want. That's the issue, right? I don't know what kind of computer you want. I have the most tricked out laptop I could get. I have the most tricked out Mac Studio here in front of me. So I know exactly what I want. I have no clue what you want. So pick out your stuff. I will share it. Happy to do that.
I will do
and Josh
that.
here says, deport Muslims, vote at your local city council. I'm not for, if you've committed a crime, you're calling for jihad or Sharia or something like that, and you're on a visa or something like that. Yes. Other than that, I just believe in exposing Islam, and Islam, trust me, Islam cannot stand up to scrutiny, not the slightest bit of scrutiny. It can't stand it. And finally, hey, AP, we appreciate and respect the work you're doing in exposing Islam. We value your bravery and commitment. May God protect you and your family. We Christians love you and will pray for you. We're always here for you.
Thank you.
And that is a good comment to close out on, because there's been a lot of negativity coming from some Dawah guys. But that's a good thought to close out on. We're not sure when we'll be back, because there will be some traveling. But we'll let you know. Catch y'all next time.
We're out there to save the world, and we'll be back soon.
So it is written, so it shall be done.